There's no savage.
Are you running? Oh, right. There's a week lag. That's right. See,
but I also would have said no because it's a crazy day for me.
Yeah, you gotta make normal guides. Like, is that what you get up to first?
So I have to clear everything first. Clearing everything for the first time. First impressions is always a video each. Okay. I have to test anything that's new. Like I have to run Sunken Temple with the trusts tomorrow, for example.
Oh,
yeah. Give that a peek and everything.
Oh, right. I actually do want to see that shit.
Yeah, and then run all the normal modes, and then I have to do speculation on savage encounters. That's the big one. It's like guide on normal, and then speculating on what actually carries over to savage. What's different?
Did they show us all 4 bosses, or was Tentacle Boy some random thing?
They showed us all. There's a pretty common community theory about the tentacle boss and what that is.
I mean, I assume
that's yeah, I think you're gonna say it.
Joey gone too far? What are you gonna say now?
Is that Brute Bomber, but fully transformed from the disease from overusing his his beast transformation?
That's bad.
Because they said they store those people on the 11th floor.
Yeah,
right.
He looks like he's not having a good time in some of the screenshots.
Well, he's petting cats. He's having a good fine time there.
Having a great time.
Yeah.
No, I mean in the patch notes he looks sick.
Why would he turn into a plant tentacle beast with a laser eye if he is ingesting bombs all the time?
Oh, I mean it's psychochronosis. We don't really know what happens.
We don't know.
Psychochronosis.
Why did a horse turn into Godzilla? Hey, it's
Psychochronosis.
I already, I quite like the Arcadian and the story they're telling. Probably my favorite narrative to come out of Dawn Trail, but at the same time, I will say they're really pushing like what is considered an animal by using like those bomb monsters.
I mean, it's an animal in their world, like they came to our world, they'd be like, "What the hell's a chinchilla?"
It's a face on a circle. Like I don't
it's a sphere. A circle's 2-dimensional.
Is he
okay?
Is he?
Well, man, you're only perceiving a circle from one direction at all times. So how do you even know?
Yeah, in this dimension, right? Yeah,
are you
got
fondling the bomb monster? Are you feeling it, man?
The bomb monster. All right,
I'm
also all set up.
We're good, like real technical. I mean, you're perceiving it through a monitor, which is ostensibly 2-dimensional.
Does it count as an elemental? Because in other games that would definitely be an elemental. But
no, it doesn't count as we have our own sub-series of elementals. Yeah,
elementals are basically flying crystals. Do they ever get like human?
That's what they are to me.
Yeah.
Give me the crafting crystals. In Final Fantasy 11, that was literally their sole function, is that they drop like 1 billion crafting crystals.
That's like getting your moats in Burning Crusade.
Yeah, got to murder.
Yeah,
murder.
That's exactly what it is.
Only reason you'd go to Nagrand.
Up there in the heights.
Yeah, there's like entire zones just made of elementals, and people just go there and they just mow down elementals. All my stuff is ready.
All right.
If, you want me to
I gotta
swap over
this little audio recording so we can make a podcast out of this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like as soon as we start, I'm just gonna like start cropping on for YouTube from that moment.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Let our noob questions guide the way.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm ready on my end. You ready on your end? We'll all hit ready. I mean, other than hi everybody. Hi everybody. It's good to see you all here.
Yeah.
It's a ready check. It's a ready check.
Yeah, that's the ready check is part of the show.
Right. Oh wait. Well,
there you go.
Mr. Happy's already on battle system. Perfect, because that's exactly where I want to dive in and get what the hell's going on.
You were there. You just ended up scrolling up. You were just checking something.
I was over Wooklamat and Sveen, having a moment, but I was looking at this earlier.
Squaring up. I'm shocked Twitter didn't take that image and just start putting like memes all over it. Just
surely they were so busy with the weird eye face going on there. With her on profile.
Eye face?
Yeah, doing the puppet thing. I forget what that puppet's from.
Yeah, and the 8 million black mages. I'm sorry, I misspoke. The 8 black mages that were Yeah.
I mean, this is the first
no.
time. This is the first time I've ever gone to FF logs and like looked at like stats, like general stats, and I am not used to seeing statistics drawn from so few numbers. I used to have a Heroes of the Storm fan site, and we thought our numbers were bad. This is the smallest amount of numbers I've ever looked at to put together general statistics for anything in a video game.
Oh, I gotta do that. Let's see. Might have
If you
to
go
make
on the and they'll only let me set it to 2 weeks, so I'm like looking at Fru, our DPS, which like I've never really messed around with this site all that much, except when people that I run with send me my numbers. So because of covering the patch, I was like, oh, let me go take a look, you know, and because I know machinists are mad, but I don't understand why. I don't play a machinist. And I know black mages are mad, and I kind of understand why, because I played Summoner right before that patch hit. Yeah,
that's a big burn to say to black mages, to throw Summoner out there and be like, yeah, because I know what happened to Summoner.
I'm speaking extremely generally. I haven't actually looked at the black mages changes yet, but the vibe I'm getting from my black mage friends is it's kind of like that. They feel like they're getting kicked to boring to play town, which we'll talk about in a minute. However, I'm not done with being astounded by how small these numbers are, because the number of parses for some of these jobs, like 2 week range on Fru, black mage, 370 parses, 370. That is a tiny number.
Can I just say you shouldn't use Fru for the sole purpose that Picto, like people who play all the casters will mostly just go pick that. You might want to pick Savage for like the average player.
Okay.
You know,
okay, a bit more of like that where passion lies, not meta.
Yeah, because people will just look at Fru and they'll be like, listen, I don't usually play Picto, but it's kind of a joke, and it was the greatest in this fight. So you know, I'll play it.
Let me go to the first Savage, because that'll probably have the biggest stats, right? Or would people not even be running it? No, that's even lower than Fru on the parses.
Yeah, you'd have to. It's a weird time to look up those numbers.
Yeah, you'd have to look up all time for sure. Like you'd have to compare all time to all time. But even the all time, I can promise you, does not look great.
Yeah.
So,
well,
there's a reason I made that joke.
Oh. Well, now it's just going to turn into Happy teaches Garrett how to FF logs. But I am curious about this. 2 weeks appears to be the longest I can set it to. Is there something I'm missing on here?
I'm almost certain that you can pull data from more than, because I still have logs up from like however long ago. So I haven't done it in a while, just because I tend to not worry as much about anyone else's but mine.
Gotcha.
But you know, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'd say we should probably get into the patch notes that are current, more than anything else.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. So I usually do patch note readings, and I usually kind of blitz through these, and normally they're not as contestable, or you know, people aren't usually so on edge about a random patch set of job changes, but that has not been the case for 7.2.
Okay, all right.
Ever since Yoshi P showed his hand.
His hand being the screen where he had a black mage on and showed music that shouldn't have been shown and stuff like that, right? There was something about his bars that was off.
It was something about everything he did. Every button he pressed was functioning differently than players were used to it functioning, down to cast times, to his job gauge not having certain things.
Oh, I see.
It was instantly recognizable to every black mage player that there was almost nothing the same.
Okay,
basically.
So to rewind a bunch and also look forward, are these changes highlighting future ideas about the 8.0 update?
I as a monk player that never gets to play it because Fizz Range is my prison. I've seen this once before, and it was highly contested changes in 5.4 for Monk that actually received kind of similar-ish feedback, but and I'll say Monk is kind of like Black Mage wasn't really the most played. It was really played amongst like the people who really wanted to play Monk. It had like a lower adoption rate, that's the word, than the other melees. So it kind of felt like very similar in that regard. And I'd say Monk has largely turned around since that point. So this feels more like this exact same kind of reset on all the things that the job was before to eventually do something more to it. Now that's cope, because people said that about Summoner 2, and that clearly never happened yet. So it's 50-50, coin flip on which way it's going to go from there.
Wait, so there's a hope that like they're sort of, you know, like construction in Florida, you just plow all the natural land because you're going to build something better later on?
That's the only thread that they can hold on to at this point. More less so the hope, and more so the only hope.
Okay, because we ran afoul of a little bit of that heading into Dawn Trail with some job changes. Like, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I know there were like at least 3 people that like just started copy pasting like, it's prep for 8.0, it's prep for 8.0, and we're like, that's nice. We're gonna have to talk about this for 2 years. So how about you wait? Because we can't prove you wrong.
That's literally all it is. Like, it's all I'm saying is that it is reminiscent of that like feeling that Monk players had, because that was the patch that got rid of Greased Lightning, and everyone was like, that's literally like one of 2 things that Monk needs to be Monk. And I feel like they've gotten away from that being a thing Monk needs to be Monk successfully. Positionals were the other thing. And as someone who still does positionals that have been removed because they're ingrained into my soul, I also feel like Monk successfully got away, but I think Monk was better built to have the tools to even get there. I think Black Mage is a harder ask to do that with, if that makes sense. I feel like its tools were even more defining to its gameplay, and the reason why Black Mage players played it in the first place than Monk had with Greased Lightning and positionals.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle and me, we don't have the history with the game that you do, and we also just don't have the raw knowledge about as many jobs as you do, because we have pretty much played one job each for 3 years now, as we've gone through and become current players of Final Fantasy 14. So, but we, you know, we have a modestly sized community, where we absorb a lot of vibes from other players. And I would say what you just said resonates pretty much to a T with the vibe that I've gotten from Black Mage players. It has a reputation, and I think that reputation draws a certain type of player to it. And it seemed like its reputation was well earned, because it seemed like those types of players that were drawn to it actually stuck with it. And the reputation I'm talking about is that it has a reputation for being a bit on the more difficult side for a caster job, and a tad bit convoluted. And so people that want something that's maybe a little more difficult, someone that wants something that's maybe not turn your brain off DPS, and also maybe wants to build their internet persona around enjoying that type of content, found a home in Black Mage. Am I in the ballpark as someone who only has like a level 80 something Black Mage at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, an experienced Black Mage would tell you Black Mage has gotten actually incredibly easy in its pre 7.2 iteration, relatively speaking. It's gotten a lot more cast times. People have figured out ways to extend instant cast. I mean, heck, the most recent flavor of the month was 0 cast bar Black Mage, where people worked out a method to do competitive raid level DPS without ever actually needing to cast a spell, thus having infinite movement like they're a fizz ranged in a sense, but it requiring you to have ultra precise knowledge of where every GCD technically needs to go, so you don't muscle memory back to something that actually is a cast bar and then screw everything up. And that's kind of always been Black Mage's flavor. One that has made it very hard for players who are not Black Mage players to even understand Black Mage players, or even want to. I hit a point where I stopped listening to Black Mage players. I was like, honestly, I just can't anymore. I'm just gonna play. When I play it, I'm just gonna play. I don't just you're all trying to come up with like 6 different ways to play it other than what is clearly the intended way. And I just like I'll pick apart, but like I just can't anymore. It's they just want to do what's called non-standard. Effectively, they knew how the job was supposed to be played. It's pretty clear, and they're just like, we're not going to do that. And that's the thing that keeps getting attacked ultimately to this point where it seems like Yoshi P finally went, listen, no more. And even now, they're still going to figure out non-standard rotations. Like, it's not going to change. Like, people are still going to figure it out.
I mean, but that's the wizard way. You're in the basement summoning some weird shit and reading old books and trying, like the Clunk. And then versus the Clunk gave them their persona. So
Yeah.
why in the science of fun would they take that away?
So it creates so the game itself doesn't educate the player on how they should play the job. They want players to effectively educate players and they stay out of it while also kind of mediating it from like a balance perspective, right? So when the Black Mage players are coming up with like 50-page dissertations on the 18 different rotations that you can do relative to every spell speed plus comfort level that is even remotely imaginable. And that is hyperbole, but that is kind of what they are always fighting against in terms of balancing the job, is them balancing it around standard play, but non-standard play being discovered to be better. And thus new players may think they know how to play. Now I have to learn something entirely. And then it creates this like intimidation factor that effectively it's a giant filtration system that out of like 100 players that might start the job, like 2 ever actually play it. And I honestly just don't think they want that anymore with Black Mage. Like it's more than anything. I think they're tired of that.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
is
There was a
this
book for non-standard Black Mage.
is this a culmination, like so many people are saying? Like, is what we're seeing with Black Mage equaling the homogenization and simplification that is kind of going around the internet?
So the answer is a resounding yes, and I will tell you why anecdotally, but I know all the Black Mages out there can support this claim. Um, Literally for the past 9 months, all I've heard of what is the point of the Thunderhead timer? What is the point of the Firestarter timer? Honestly, Enochian never drops anyway, so why does it need a timer? Well, now nothing has timer, so you willed it into your own existence. Congratulations.
Oh,
That's what's happened. Most things that people have come to be upset about now were willed into creation. Like the
So-
2-minute meta willed into creation.
It's probably not this clean, but but if you're gonna say the community willed it into creation, are you accusing the community of not asking for the right thing? Like, should they have asked for more jank? Like instead of saying flippantly, "What's the point?" Should they have instead said, "Could you make this more meaningful?"
I think it's a matter of who's saying these things and how many are saying. Like if you look at 1,000 Black Mage players and 501 of them are saying it, but 499 aren't.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're already back into like how I find 14 unique versus something like WoW, which is what I covered in the past. But or even other games, usually in the Blizzard sphere, because I go like, do they even listen? Do they even care what the players say? Because they probably have internal statistics. They probably just look at. I would imagine they look at just how many people are even playing it, how effective players that stuck with the job are being with its current system. They probably look at, we made a change and what was the fall off or increase in play of that job as a result.
well,
I mean, that's how most game developers do it. We don't, from my understanding, and again, 3 years of covering this, it's hard to tell because the devs over here barely talk to us compared to what I'm used to covering Blizzard games. Except for StarCraft. We called that the ivory tower way to do it, which was the devs don't talk to us. And then when a StarCraft balance patch was coming down, they would come out onto a balcony, much like the Pope, decree what is going to happen, tell us we don't care about your opinions, and then retreat and then not talk to us again for 6 months. I honestly see more in common with that style in Final Fantasy XIV than I see in common with World of Warcraft style of developer communication.
But like in MOBAs, we have a very common thing where they will go find the lowest played hero unit, whatever it is, and say, well, gosh darn, and this is a very human thing to do. I put a lot of work into that. That's a really nice model. Look at those spell effects. I'm going to make it more popular. I bet I can transform this whole thing and just get the play rate up a bit.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If there's anything I've learned is it doesn't matter what you do, people who don't want to learn won't learn. And so I think that's the main concern Black Mage players have, is they're seeing a bunch of changes made that in theory, I mean, like I said, it could be a clear of the board to do something later, but that's cope. And then it could also just be modernizing it so modern players feel like, oh, okay, maybe I should check this out now, and maybe they'll like it, and there'll be a higher adoption rate. But we've all played, especially Black Mage players, who tend to honestly be longer term players. Weirdly enough, like I feel like the average hardcore Black Mage player has been playing the game longer than a lot of the averages of other jobs. They know, and I know full well, that some people just don't want to learn, and so because it's different or modern doesn't mean people are really going to learn it or it's going to have a higher adoption rate. People are probably still going to be moderately intimidated by it, even though there's not really much intimidation to have anymore.
Yeah, I can understand still having pushback though, because you know, if people don't want to learn, it's one job out of more than 20. They have other options. Like if Black Mage presents too much of a challenge to you, I think folks that do enjoy it would most likely say, well, tough cookies. You have 20 other options. Go pick one of those. Don't don't
And this is what
complain
makes
to
me
a point
special.
where you impact what
Okay,
I enjoy.
this is like this not job changer. We should probably actually get to reading the job changer sometime soon. But this is a fundamental thing that I tend to talk about with MMOs, is that especially nowadays, people are always looking for opportunities to get things they missed before and like experience them, even if they're not that important. They just want to know they can, right? And jobs and like the ability to play a job is like that for a lot of people. Like I never could pick it up because it's too difficult. If they did this, that, or whatever, maybe I would pick it up and give it a try. And it's like the same as like, oh, this mount that was only available during like this limited time. Like, they should bring that back. I don't care if it was, for some sort of competition or whatnot. It's like I never had the chance and I want it.
So this will actually see an increased play rate. Likely there's a lot of people who will.
People are going to pick it up just to see how it feels, but I still think the adoption rate's going to be low on average, personally.
So looking at these numbers changes, I see a lot of 2.5s to 2s. What's going on here?
So job changes can be very confusing in 14, and you actually are looking at one of the most confusing job change lists that you could be looking at, because a reduction of a reduction is a gain, and a lot of people don't know that. And we're going to see a lot of numbers that are going up but are nerfs, and numbers that are going down that are buffs. So it's very confusing. Paladin a little more straightforward, getting a bunch of flat potency buffs to their AoE, but in exchange losing the fall off damage on Confiteor, their Blade combo, Imperator, and Blade of Honor. So if it says reduction in potency after the first target has been changed from 50 to 60, that means that after the first target, it does 60% less damage now. So it's a 10% nerf overall to those skills' damage on the second target and onward. On the first target, it's still the same.
Oh, interesting. Were they having a damage issue?
So it seems to be a theme that they're going for, is drastically adjusting across the entirety of the patch notes. I didn't read every detail, but I did skim through and see this text here a lot.
Yeah, the first thing I went to was Dark Knight, which is my main job, and yeah, same thing. Potency after first target is getting messed with on 3 abilities.
Yeah, so they're increasing their general spam AoE, meaning that if they're sitting there on a pack AoEing things like Total Eclipse, they're just basic combo actions, Holy Circle from whenever they get a proc, those are up. But if the AoE on their 1 minute burst has gone down. Now later we can look at the job guide and they will actually explain their reasoning, but I'm not going to lie, most of the time I find that to be kind of a fluff piece. You can usually just see what the intent is and not really need to dive in, but we definitely need to read the Black Mage job guide section at some point.
Okay. Pardon my complete noobishness to this review process. The job guide has developer notes when they do changes?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So it says at the top, for further explanation of action changes and adjustments, please refer to the job guide. So there are indeed developer notes, but they're usually like 2 or 3 lines.
Where? I'm looking at this. Where would I even find those?
I believe it's at the bottom. It's been a while since I've had to look.
So I clicked on Black Mage and the job gauge updated. So maybe because of updated, but I'm not seeing anything that calls out what actually changed.
No, so it's literally just there's a comment somewhere on that page. Again, I think it's somewhere near the bottom that literally just says why they made job changes as a whole. Like it's not like an individual spell to spell. Why did they do it? It's like a synopsis on the job changes. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm
Oh,
not.
okay.
I'm
You go to
finding
the
it.
main page here for the job guide, and then
Yeah.
patch 7.2 adjustment overview, and it's very,
Mm.
very brief. But yeah, there is a
Yeah.
pretty meaty one here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay,
Okay.
so if you go to Paladin right now, it would have a why did they change the AoEs? And generally speaking, when they shift power in any spell, it's what for one of two reasons. It's usually to either reduce punishment or to reduce pressure on a specific scenario. So I know like Picto changes. I took a brief look at those to understand them. I there to see if my predictions were right, which they were. And so I'll know exactly what their intent was with that. Like it's impossible to not notice if you've played Picto much,
In order to gain
especially
a
for
better balance between tank rolls, action potency for warriors and gunbreakers has been increased. So this here is actually doing gymnastics to make the gunbreakers better by nerfing the others in AoE
I mean, maybe that's the
situations.
case. Are you reading the tank page or the paladin page?
This would be just the tank.
Just
but-
the note
Okay.
on
Yeah.
tank changes.
Right. So that's the
Yeah.
overall thought on tank. Is this a new kind of thing they're doing, or is this a pretty common idea to reduce potency past the initial target?
They've messed with AoE targets a ton in the past. We've seen drastic swings going from like 25% to 75% and getting massive like first target potency changes. Like we've seen this a lot. But very similar-ish, especially if we go down to warrior. Warrior gets a little bit of potency from some of its traits. The melee mastery traits just giving it 20 potency on path and eye. Upheaval is also going to get another 20 potency. Chaotic cyclone is being reduced. So now we have the reverse scenario. Chaotic cyclone is 200 potency now, but they increased the AoE fall off from rend, wrath, and ruination to now that's going from 70. So it used to be only 30% on the second target to 50%. So now it does 50% of its damage past the initial target.
Okay.
So that's a pretty significant, any target over than one buff on average, especially if you're doing your single target and you just happen to be cleaving with the primal spells.
And then the two gunbreaker abilities that were buffed are like they're standard AoEs. They are non like first target fall off.
Yeah, they just gave them help. They're just like, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's Reign of Beasts and Noble Blood and have a good time.
What would be the purpose of adjusting AoE damage for tanks?
I mean, so number one, we don't know what the encounter design is going to be like this patch, and they could have deemed
sure.
the AoE balance a problem.
My brain goes to I bet there's going to be ads somewhere.
People have thought that before, and it hasn't been the case. Sometimes it is definitely where my brain goes. I think most raiders, their brains go there too. But it could just be something that they felt was just off kilter, just didn't work. Like anytime the big thing is actually not even AoE. You have to think of more often than not two target situations, because these are fall off after the first, which means the second target is the important one, because the more you're doing to the second target, the more off balance that may be in a situation that otherwise it wouldn't be. And so this is pretty big deal for anything if these potencies are in place for anything to target at any point. I mean, even just looking back at some old stuff that these skills will affect, like DSR, for example. There's a whole phase of two target in there. That's probably, I mean, there's two whole phases that have two target situations in there that's going to impact, though not really much of a big deal. But that kind of placing in an encounter matters a lot. And Fru also has a ton of two target in the fourth phase, not to mention AoE in the third phase and so on and so forth. Dark Knight kind of just getting similar stuff. Impalement saw a bit of a reduction, but Salt and Darkness and Shadowbringers now only have a 25% fall off. Same with
they're just
Disesteem.
better. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I could have used that when I was soloing E4S as Dark Knight, because Disesteem's AoE was one of the most frustrating things that was like would ruin runs for me. So that's a selfish reason, but still.
But happy I'm losing single target potential on impalement. How can I possibly go on?
You know, Dark Knights have been wondering how they can possibly go on for a few expansions now, so it's kind of on point.
They're into it.
They're into it. Yeah, they're still
Well,
waiting to see Dark Arts has been added to this list. So
I didn't hit max level until Endwalker. So this is pretty much the only Dark Knight I've ever known, and I really enjoy it. It's like, what if Blood Dark Knight in World of Warcraft was fun to play, is how I describe Dark Knight.
Don't use the words fun to play around longtime Dark Knight players. Dangerous.
No, I'm here, Dark Knight players. I'm here to tell you, I've played other games. It's okay. I'm your gut check because I haven't been here as long as you. I'm a burnout, but I'm not burnt out.
So we got there's this final line here: adjustments to the reduction of potency of multiple targets in certain areas of actions were made mainly in order to achieve a better balance with ultimate raids. So there is no action taken on all tank groups or anything like that here. Would you see this having an impact on that?
I think tank. None of this changes the state of tank as a whole. I think so. I had a tank that put a pretty detailed response in a recent video talking about the role. It pretty much lives or dies right now by whether or not the encounter is designed well for tanks, and that's been a major pain point. The jobs themselves, most people seem to be relatively okay with. If they don't like one, they usually like another, and most people are capable of playing all of them, and at least moderately enjoying 3 of them, it seems like, on average. So usually there's like one that some people like. They're like, I don't really like that one. So I don't think honestly it's going to change much. I think at the end of the day, tanks want better encounters that are better designed. But they want more Valakar Manda towers is what they want. They want
that's
something
what I was about to ask.
like that.
So
the best tank buster in the game.
Well, I mean, outside of like making you the most special person at the party, like what do tanks want?
They want it. They want their role to make. So let me put it this way: Fru is beaten with no tanks. Now, does that mean that everyone's going to not bring a tank? No, but it means that the fundamental design of the fight did not require a tank.
Okay.
Just that they needed somebody who, in theory, you just needed someone to take a hit once in a while.
Okay. Can I come swinging in with a new max level player reaction to that statement?
Yeah.
It seems a lot of things can get cleared without an entire role, because it's the same reason we are told that healers are grumpy, and that makes me go, it kind of feels like that's just the game you're playing. So why aren't you mad about Final Fantasy 14 and instead you're mad about insert role here? It kind of seems like you should just be mad that that's the way 14 does things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a bigger deal if that's what everyone did. So like one thing that you weren't around for that made that was something that was actually a problem for tanks, Ramuh Extreme.
Oh dear.
Was highly contentious on content extreme trial because people brought no tanks to that fight. Now, you've done that fight. You know what the tank responsibility is, I assume, with picking up the orbs and needing to make sure
Actually,
you
we have not done Ramuh Extreme.
No, but I did.
Oh, you haven't?
I accidentally watched the Extreme guide when I was going into normal in my first playthrough, and I was terrified.
I know we haven't done Ramuh. Right, yeah.
Okay, that one's yeah. The tanks have a pretty immense responsibility in that fight. It's a very tank like save the day fight. But it was also in the, in random groups that made it really annoying. So people figured out that the Titan Eggy from Summoner, if you just wore all Vitality gear, could just tank Ramuh without needing to do any tank mechanics, and was like a nigh invincible nugget of truth. Back when Summoner pets could tank, mind you.
I don't mind that every once in a while. I don't want every fight to be like that, but I think players finding unique ways to get through difficult content
but it wasn't unique. It was massive. It was the permanent adopted.
It became mandatory. Method. It wasn't cute anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't cute. Yeah, every tank was like, if you brought a tank, it was because you felt bad and wanted to bring them, and then they would just stand there.
Oh no.
Well,
okay.
That's on the players. on that point, that's on the players. And this is why we can't have nice things. This is the push and pull.
Sort of.
This is the back and forth. This is what is the fault of the developers?
No.
What is the fault of the players? Now, the developers created a fight where that was possible. However, it's not the only possibility. They clearly designed it with tanks in mind, and players went and found a way around that. And then players became stick in the mud dicks and said, no tanks, it's just easier to do this. And that's kind of on the players at that point. And that's where that's where I'm just like, well, you kind of made your bed. Now you got to sleep in it, because I think that's cool. I think it's really cool to come up with non-standard strategies. But when you become gatekeepers of the Holy Trinity in an MMO, that's kind of on you.
It's like me. So when I remember when I learned long division in high, like teachers just recycle the same exact like science like situation or math problem. They don't like even try to disguise it. So if you just recognize the problem.
Oh yeah, it's why I daydream about being a teacher all the time, because it's like being a content creator, because you use the same content every year. That's one way to describe teaching, I suppose, at least at the high school and middle school level. But yeah, I used to just like see a problem and I wouldn't even learn how to do the math. It'd be like drawing. I would just draw the results on the page. It was like, yeah, I know this is where I carry the 3 and it would have resulted in this, but I don't fucking care about all that. Just write all the numbers down, that's the answer, and move on. Okay, all right. Someone in chat is saying in 12 months, nobody will remember. I completely disagree. I still hear from folks who are like, well, I don't, but Kyle still hears from astrologians from like, 5 years ago.
Oh, we'll get there.
Like, you don't know.
We're in the tank changes.
Dude, you weren't there.
We're in the tank.
No,
We'll talk about healing later.
Oh no, now we're in the melee changes.
Yeah, let's do that.
I was about to say, is there anything worth saying about tank beyond AoEs getting messed with? Moving on.
Pretty much, no. I don't think tanks want just more fun encounters. That's what they're hoping for.
Yeah. I was simultaneously bored, but also kind of thankful when I went and looked up the Dark Knight changes. I'm like, oh, this is kind of boring, but hey, at least they didn't, ruin my class. So
yeah. No, you'd have played Dark Knight a few years ago for that.
In light of future balanced design, we have generally increased attack potency to maintain a good balance with range DPS rules.
Where does it say that?
That was right here in melee DPS on the
if you go to the job
overview.
Guide actions overview, and
I know what page it would. I was like, that's on the melee page. Like you said, Fizz range, and I was like, is he reading the melee page?
No, the melee. Yeah, the melee future battle design. They're talking about keeping up with range DPS rules, though. Is what they're. What's this face? What was that?
This face is that. Let me tell you, it's not the melee that need to keep up with the Fizz range. It's the other way around.
What? I mean, it does.
Maybe the encounter design is that melee unfriendly that they said, let's help them.
Well, that's kind of a scary thought, right? Because if you have, let's say the boss does 5 farts in a row that no DPS of the melee design can hit it, so you make them all better, doesn't that mess with all your content?
Anyway. So
really
Muck.
glad that our newer end game player questions are not crashing over you like we're complete idiots. It's crashing over you like you're just tired of hearing this truth.
It's not crashing over me. I'm just crashing out. It's more accurate. Yeah.
Okay.
So Muck, I didn't look over these, but they mostly seem to be changes to some AoE fall off and to some potency. Mostly looking to just be buffs across the board here to any sort of 2-target situation. So the Tornado Kick, Elixir Field, Flint Strike, those are all buffs, big ones to Elixir Field and Flint Strike. And then keep in mind that a lot of these skill names, they're just lower level versions of the skill. Like Tornado Kick is a lower level version of Phantom Rush, for example. So it's like that doesn't matter that much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you haven't played Monk is probably the premier job of this evolves as you level, but it doesn't drastically play its change style nowadays. They took all the skills they got rid of. People went, man, I missed that skill. And they're like, you know what? Let's make it their lower level version of this skill so they can get it at the low levels and still have like something resembling their job gauge to do at most levels. And it's worked very well in that sense with bringing a lot of low level skills back.
That sounds great. I've played Zero Monk. It's been highly requested. It's a meme at this point over in our neck of the woods. But I would like it if they did that to most jobs, because oh boy, do I get sad when I'm a lot of jobs in lower level dungeons and stuff.
Yeah, Monk is not sad in lower level dungeons. I promise you that. Monk feels really good in a lot of low level dungeons. The Enlightenment nerf is whatever. That's just to counterbalance all the other AoEs, which Rising Phoenix, Phantom Rush, Elixir Burst are the higher level versions of Tornado Kick, Elixir Field, and Flint Strike. So,
gotcha.
That those changes are just being reflected. The big ones are Wind's Reply getting a 140 potency buff and Fire's Reply getting a 200 potency buff while also having their AoE fall off made better. So that's a buff. That's literally just buff almost entirely across the board. Enlightenment taking 40 potency, literally no one cares about. So that's just the Kamehameha. They just go instead of they punch. So that's it. They just buffed. It's just buffs.
It's in your mind, did Monk need the buff?
No, I think all melee are in a pretty decent. I think so. So Viper kind of bounced back at least a little bit from some of the negative reception it got from Fru. I think its reputation didn't, because Viper, they took what was kind of unique about Viper and kind of gutted it so quickly in Dawn Trail. The constant the buff management aspect when they redid that about a month in.
Yeah, but I remember a lot of just this morning. I've seen a lot of first off complaining, but then also like reactions to the complaining of being like, "Oh my god, they must have really screwed it up. There's so much complaining about this one." I'm like, I remember a lot of complaints about just how quickly they rolled over on Viper back when that happened. So so far, my finger on the pulse. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of hearing a similar amount of complaining, just from maybe different jobs this time.
Yeah, and the job guide mentions a lot of this has to do with Fru in particular, which I think is hilarious because with 5 extra item levels, Fru is going to fall over like it's too early for an analogy for me. I haven't had enough coffee yet. At least not one that's thoroughly thought out well enough. But I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, a lot of changes that involve the fall off are mostly aimed at 2 target encounters. They're not aimed at dungeons, where it's just like, who cares? They're dungeons. Like, not gonna balance the game around a dungeon. So yeah, this is mostly going to be for, and anything else they do that's 2 target in the future, it's pretty important. By the way, because chat brought it up to me about 30 minutes ago, I copy and pasted my details from when you guys were on State of the Realm, but I missed a T in Garrett's name when I did that.
Everyone always does.
But here's the thing, I copy pasted, so mine was literally just I did not copy a T because it was correct on the other one. Mine was, I've got 5 minutes. Let me do this real quick. Oops.
Thank you for noticing.
Oh, I didn't. They did.
Oh, thank you to folks in your community.
Yeah.
For noticing.
Yeah. Garrett. It's like Barrett from 7. It's the same thing, but with a G now.
Yeah. I've used that at Starbucks to avoid them writing Derek on my cup. I've said no, like Barrett with a G. And yeah, it doesn't help.
No, I can't imagine it does. Dragoon, Drakesbane, Stardiver, Heaven's Thrust. I mean, just no Dragoon's gonna say no to any of that.
Yeah. Again, looking at parses this morning. I go, did Dragoon need the buff? Didn't seem like they needed it. Seemed like they were doing just fine.
Well, the question there is, did anybody not get buffed? Because the note was that they are bringing the melee DPS some help because they are suffering compared to casters. And range.
Well, I haven't looked through them all, but I would assume they're all somewhat buffed. They even said during the live letter, melee are being buffed. Like they just said it as like one flat statement. So I assume not. I can tell you Ninja's definitely buffed looking at that.
Yeah, that's a lot of words on edge there.
Yeah, realistically, all you're looking at is the highest number because like so what gets really annoying about some melee jobs when you're reading patch notes is there's so many values associated with how much damage a skill does that they have to update all of them. They don't just want to update the only one that players should be aiming for. So like Aeolian Edge getting 20 potency from 200 to 220, that's just if you were to not combo it, not hit a positional, like that's what that's for. It's as if you were to raw hit an Aeolian Edge by accident, like fat finger it. And that's the same with the target rear one. It's like, this is what we would do if you just didn't combo it. But then the bottom ones are the combo and the rear flank potency ones. So the bottom two, where it says the combo and combo when executed from the rear, those are the only ones you care about. So it's 20 potency, all the same. It still informs the same decision. 20 potency on Armor Crush. Hake took a little bit of a hit. No one cares if Hake Mujin Satsu takes a hit. That's irrelevant. Doku Mori not having any potency reduction, people are definitely going to be a-okay with. Again, these are mostly Fru-inspired changes for things like that. Bavakakra getting another 20 potency. Phantom Kaimaitachi, only 25% fall off. Kunai's Bane, only 25% fall off. Those are both buffs. Death Frog getting its potency reduced. Again, not really that big of a deal. And Tenri Jindo getting the... People care a lot more about some of the other skills having their fall off reduced than caring about Death Frog losing 40 potency.
I assume that's the one where they jump on the frog, right?
Yes. That's honestly the well-informed guess. Very contextual analysis there. Very good contextual analysis.
I've got a kind of off to the side question here, but we got to Cloud of Darkness 4% and had to end for the night. We couldn't beat Cloud of Darkness. Chaotic. It was rough. Wonderful, good time. Fun in there. As we logged out, I saw in chat, imagine bringing a ninja or summoner because they give the target takes more damage debuff.
Yes. So specifically with it was Mug. Now it's Dokumori. Dokumori increases all damage dealt to a target. Which, yes, and a group of 24 people will affect, 24 people.
It really affects not just your light party or your 8 stack? That's crazy.
Yep. It's the same as like Chain Stratagem would increase everyone's critical hit rate on the boss.
Hell yeah. That's not how we do things. It's 24 players. We just post a 4-digit code and say, hey, who wants to come to Chaotic with us? But yeah, maybe next time, Kyle, and we'll go into those party finder settings and I'll set it to summoner. And well, now we're gonna have better gear. Doesn't matter. We're gonna probably steamroll the next time we get in there, which makes me sad.
Steamroll is given how Chaotic Phase 1 and 2 can look. A steamroll may not be the right word, but
when you wipe on 4%, just clearing is gonna feel like, damn, that was so much easier.
Yeah, generally clearing feels better. You're right. Clearing does feel better than not clearing.
He's got a point. Yeah.
He's got a point.
I in the history of us streaming this game together, Kyle and me, I don't think I have ended a stream more soul destroyed than Thursday night. Yeah.
I think it's because you were having less unique fun than me.
Less unique fun?
Yeah, like that was really fun as a healer to get to right click people to heal them. I've been so tied to my touch the boss's butt in order to reach my AoE heal to the other side of them play style through all of Savage that getting to finally feel like the healing wizard and be like, here it goes, oh, they're running by, you get a heal, go. And then the next person would run by the center and be like, oh, this one's for you. And then you're not in my 8 stack, but here you go. It was so fun and fresh. And cleansing dooms felt like a blast.
Kyle likes being reactive, and you did get to be reactive. I like the fight, though. There is a misconception. Sorry, Happy. We're pulling over into GG town. There is a misconception I've seen thrown around that I did not enjoy the Chaotic. I fucking loved it. I thought it was really cool. I was worried after the first phase that it was going to be a fight where everyone just does the same thing. And then phase 2 happened. And I was like, oh, this is a well-designed fight. I like this. But
harder than they intended, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, to put a cap on this. No. That's the problem with 24-man content. Everyone doesn't have the same level of I want to keep going. Like, and I was at maximum. I would have happily beat my head against that fight until the sun came up. That's how badly I wanted to beat it. And not everyone did. And I didn't want to stop. And that's why I wanted to pick up my monitor and throw it through a window. So it's not because I didn't like the fight. Anyone saying that is wrong. Anyway, back to back to job changes.
Wrong. Back to job changes. Samurai getting a few reductions to Kyoten and Guren to make up for the reduction in the AoE fall off. Again, Shoha getting that reduction. Oh, Ogi Namikiri and Keishi Namikiri both getting potency buffs, and very similar to Wind's Reply and Fire's Reply, getting both the potency buff and the AoE fall off buff. Zanshin, same deal. AoE potency buff, AoE fall off buff, and then Tendo Setsugeka and Tendo Keishi Setsugeka even getting a small potency buff. No, cool. No samurai is going to complain about that. Doesn't really change much for them. They just they will do more. Now Reaper is interesting because Reaper's how do I put this? Reaper's a job that's always felt kind of like lost in a sense. Like most people get into it for the aesthetic, but it's kind of built on the pieces of the jobs that came before it. So I'm very curious because I haven't read this. Void Reaping, 40 potency, Cross Reaping, 40 potency, Harvest Moon, Fall Off, Sacrarium, getting its potency and fall off, no longer gets Spinning Scythe and Nightmare Scythe potency upgrades. That's their nerf, I'd assume, to
Melee Mastery
AoE.
3.
Yeah, Melee Mastery 3 is their like that's their reduction of potency for those skills to make up for getting all the AoE fall off. On Communio, on Sacrificium. There we go. Executioner's Guillotine. Yeah, so it's just along the same lines here. But yeah, I think Reaper's seen a better resurgence as of late. And I think this won't in any way inhibit that. I think most people will be okay with this. I don't know. I guess it really depends on, because I don't think Spinning Scythe, Nightmare Scythe, I mean, I don't really ever see Dark Knights do that, or Executioner's Guillotine. Just don't
go Reaper, Dark Knight.
Yeah, I did. To be fair, yeah, no, literally 11 players went, oh, look, guys, it's Dark Knight if it was a DPS like we asked.
Well, as a Dark Knight player who is not interested in melee but is interested in Reaper, I completely understand.
I mean, they're kind of the same thing, right? Like you can nerf them, but or buff them. They're just role playing out there. It's gonna be hard to stop them from playing what they want.
Yeah, pretty much. But this is mostly done with Fru in mind anyway, and Reaper's pretty good in Fru, especially in the 2-target phase and onward. So the Reaper's core issue hasn't ever really been addressed, and that's they don't get gauged during downtime, which in Fru during the first 3 phases is a problem, and then stops being a problem in the last 2 phases, and then Reaper absolutely fucks.
So who does not have that in addition to Reaper? Because
Viper.
Oh, so wait, everybody else has some sort of like hold your sword cool or channel thing during downtime?
Well, Monk can actually use perfect balance with no targets to get to their stronger combos. So they can like literally just break dance with no targets on the field to build up a gauge to then use it when the boss comes back. And that's actually, if you don't do that as Monk and Free, you're straight up griefing. So that's like a big skill expression bit that Monk has with their Ninja just doesn't really have an issue with its gauge more so. I mean, it has Dokomori, it has Kunai's Bane, so it does its job when it comes back. All of its ninjutsu is just all on a cooldown. It comes back, so they don't care that much about Bava Kakra. They're not like, I need more Bavas. So I don't know how it functions without that. Dragoon's already had all of its gauge stuff done, and so yeah, it's really just Reaper and Viper. But Viper was memed on hard for Fru. Like it's literally like terrible in the early phases, and then is like an undeniable goat in the last 2, and Reaper kind of have that same vibe about it.
Does the strategy move around with that? Like, okay, we're stuck on final phase. Let's get a Reaper in here, or let's get that Viper.
I definitely pot phase 1 when there's a Viper there.
Okay, so maybe in the negative in that case, but yes.
Be like, it's like before the boss disappears in phase 1, like, why is the boss at 62?
Oh, that's awkward.
Yeah, phase 1 is the worst of it, but like if a Viper dies anywhere, it gets really bad really fast. Yeah, and then Viper's the same here. The legacy, this is all just for the 2-target phase, and for Viper's already so good in that phase. Yeah, they definitely weren't going to do much if they were specifically balancing around 2-target phases. Then we get into my neck of the woods.
All right, let's hear your neck. Yeah.
I think my neck is what they want.
Well, okay,
for
your neck is future battle design will likely not affect physical range DPS very much. So we have not made any adjustments in this area, and then they made adjustments. So what
Haven't made adjustments. Your own notes beg to differ.
Hang on.
There's a reason that in my Twitch chat, there's an emote just called Fizz Range, and it's the volume toggle on Discord being pulled to 0. Slowly. Yeah. So there's a reason for that.
I see. Because you do go on about the Fizz range and not a lot of people.
No, that's just how the entire community treats Fizz range.
Oh, I see. But no.
And I think it's how the dev team treats Fizz range too. They're like, oh, Fizz ranged feedback slide.
So wait. So the majority of my knowledge I've gathered from talking to you, but it's that you're so unbusy. You're handling all the other important stuff, like maybe clicking that button that says something in 10 and telling people where to be. And
no, the tanks do that because the tanks are equally as bored.
Oh, that's a tank job. Okay.
Yeah.
So why? So why have so many changes then if we're not changing anything?
Well, so I think these are fruit changes. Specifically, they look exactly the same as the changes like some of the other jobs got, because like Bard Pitch Perfect is 5% worse on 2-target for whatever reason. Shadow Bite's 10 potency better, Lane's Bite's 10 potency better. That literally matters almost never. That is for dungeons, which again, don't care, or the 2-target phase and Fru, and that's or I guess technically I guess maybe, well, actually, is it Lane's Bite at that point? I don't remember what level Lane's Bite. Yeah, because I think DSR would also get benefit from that then, because Lane's Bite in phase 6. And then same with Resonant Arrow and Radiant Encore, just 5% nerfs to their AoE fall off. So them actually making them like this looks more like an adjustment to making Lane's Bite and Shadow Bite better in that phase while making the big buttons less important. But why? Machinist. I would love to math out Machinist, because like Machinist is an interesting. So Spreadshot and Scattergun barely see any use, but again, this is very clearly a Fru phase thing, like a Fru phase 4 thing. But everything else getting the damage reduction to, or it getting more damage in AoE on that second target. So like Ricochet saw a 10% buff to its 2-target non-word. Chainsaw saw 15% double check, saw 10% checkmate, which are those realistically those are the ones that matter. No one cares about Ricochet. Excavator, 15% buff, full metal field. On 2 targets for Machinist, that's all great. Like even look at the fact that double check and checkmate are better on that is nuts, because people already don't like using Scattergun or Spreadshot. Like, truth be told, you could tell Machinists they don't have those buttons and they might just believe you.
I know a few of those buttons.
Because you only use them on like 6 targets. 6 targets. Like that's the only time you use them, because otherwise it's better to do single target and just get more double checks and checkmates. And the fact that those were buffed because they have less fall means that Machinists are like, okay, even more like they're like, I was already doing that. Thanks. Yeah, my chat said Scattergun. Isn't that button the one for G pose?
Oh,
that's how that talking about. That's how unused it is.
So the Garrett, you said this morning you saw the Machinists being very sad.
Machinists are the like 3 Machinists in our community are furious.
But it sounds like it just maybe looks bad on paper because it's nerfing things people don't want to use anyway.
Okay, here's my understanding. I do not play Machinist, and I have only just started looking at statistics today. And the narrative I have been made aware of is that machinist is considered just the worst, shittiest. Why would you bring a DPS in the game at the moment? And that none of these changes do anything to help what a lot of players see as a fact in that regard.
So hitting them all down then.
Yeah, I would say that that's a more of a representation of how they feel and not the reality as much. It's how they're treated at the very least. So I think machinist should be vastly stronger than bard and dancer. I think most machinists are of that opinion. And that's cool. And also the job design, two different people design this job simultaneously. It's clear that there are two different people who work on this job and they've never once sat in the same room.
Wait, are we talking like star-crossed lovers or complete enemies?
No, we're talking about literally went to the same high school, but literally didn't even know they were in each other's yearbook.
And does the other one think they're being hacked? Like they go into their office in the morning, well, who changed that? And they just start changing other things? Or
they just do their job. They do exactly what they're told to. They both do exactly what and they have no idea that their lives have been intertwined this entire time.
And they both submit their papers and both changes are made and everyone's confused on the outside.
Yes. Because there are two different jobs in machinist. There's the single target job and the AoE one. And every other job they work together. They're those two guys, they shake hands. They go, yeah, you know what? That's part of the 2-minute rotation, Yeah, we'll add some AoE to it, right? And they're like, okay, yeah, but I should probably pull back on some AoE potency. So maybe I should work on the fall off damage, And then these guys are just one guy's like, guns! And the other guy's like, I have a flamethrower.
Different enthusiasts. Okay, I see.
The other guy's like, robots! And this shoots fart gas. It's like
we got an enthusiast and a meme lord.
Yeah, because the single target for machinist, if you have bad latency, it's one thing, but the single target for machinist, I think machinists really do resonate with the way it plays and the identity that it has. It's rapid fire. It's got some big hits, some really cool animations. You summon a big ass robot that punches people in the face. People are just waiting to be able to get in the robot at this point. That's the final step to achieving everything.
Fair. So what do you see? Is that what you see as the key issue with machinists? Is
lack of getting in the robot?
It seems like
lack of getting in the robot is the key issue.
Kyle would see that, but for Happy, do you just see it as there seems to be a lack of synergy between single target and AoE with them? Because with my very limited dive into this, it's what I was seeing bounced around was that folks are just well, they're just. Particularly when you brought up dancer, Happy, I saw some comments this morning that were just well, if you take out dancers, what they bring to the table in terms of the buff that they bring, machinist is actually better than them, but machinist doesn't really bring anything buff wise to the table, and that's kind of where they fall flat on their face. And how true is that? By looking at statistics right in front of me, it looks like that's fairly true when I swap it from RDPS over to ADPS. But yeah, in practicality, in your, is it actually that important? Is it so bad that you should not bring a machinist?
No. I feel like that's a hangover from before they had dismantle, which I think was in 6.3 they were given dismantle. So they used to have the least mitigation options, no damage buffs, and on par and or worse damage with the other fizz ranged. The big thing being that if they couldn't buff anyone else, then it didn't matter. But when you look at the charts, the fizz ranged were all pretty close to each other anyway. Dancer, if anything, was closer to the bottom, but was still being brought more than machinist, quite frankly. So I think it's a little bit of a hangover from Endwalker that doesn't really hold true. And while the AoE is really awkward, it's gotten to the point where machinists just single target and accept that they have AoE in their rotation, and that's the only AoE they're going to do half the time. Only really try hard machinists go past that point, practically, of even giving a shit about their other tools. So yeah, it's I think the other players playing with Dancer feel better playing with Dancer because they'd be like, teehee, my numbers are bigger, but they don't like the actual sheet of like what's happening overall. It's not substantial enough to say, oh no, we should definitely bring a Dancer. You can't feasibly make that argument, but you could make that argument in a more practical sense. Like, oh, we have Curing Waltz as a Dancer, so I'd rather have that and improv, or maybe like I don't trust Fizz ranged players, so maybe on Avant they might save themselves with it because Machinist doesn't have a movement tool. So they're like looking at it for like these, but if we're just to look at the straight sheet of numbers, I wouldn't exclude a Machinist for those purposes only, in my opinion. Very reliable, very, very reliable damage source. They don't have to worry about procs at all.
Oh,
They can
nice.
completely gauge exactly what they're going to do, when they need to do it, save gauge for when they need. Yeah. So people just want it to be better than it is. And I agree. I think it should do more damage than it does.
Dancer's got a lot. Why?
Because it's an
So-
AoE patch and Dancer is AoE.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Dancer usually lags behind a little bit, even with its buffs. Depending on the patch, it's not like 100% science, but it's historically been at the bottom of the charts of it. Even looking at our DPS, it's almost always like close to the bottom. So as much as people like to go off about how great the buffs are, it's the Dancers aren't feeling it because they're just like,
Yeah. Like I can swap between R and A right now on the last 2 weeks of Future Rewritten, and they're in the exact same spot, which is second to last. However, that ranked angle slides a lot more to the right on R DPS than A, but
It
they're
sure
still
does.
second to last.
And the R means that their buffs are worked back into their DPS numbers, meaning their contribution is more realized.
yeah. But I mean, if you were to take, like I said, if you were to take the R DPS of comp that has a Dancer versus has a Machinist, outside of very fringe cases where like a tiny percent might matter, again, in my opinion, that's not substantial enough to make one decision over the other. I'd rather take a good Machinist over a bad Dancer.
What if you
Any
wiped
day.
at 4% on Chaotic Cloud of Darkness?
I would bring Ninja and Scholar.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard that before.
Imagine.
Right.
Yeah, so that seems to be the trend here. I mean, it's just their AoE skills had potency changes. They had fall off changes, like everything. Well, Fan Dance 3 was actually nerfed. That's snuck in here, a 10% nerf to the fall off on Fan Dance 3, but that's fine. Technical finish, buff. Of course, because you could press technical finish with less than 4 steps for some reason, they have to do it 5 times on the patch notes when only the quadruple finish should really matter. Saber Dance taking a nerf, Talana taking a nerf, Fan Dance 4 taking a nerf, Last Dance. Yeah, actually, it's a pretty substantial amount of AoE nerfs in here as well to make up for some of the other buffs that they did. But that's all it is. It's just shifting around of AoE power by 10% here, 10% there.
So
I'm sure someone's mathed out the technical difference, but it's like,
So why do this when the gear score is going up anyways? Is this to future-proof minimum eye level runs of ultimates?
It is to fundamental. So Fru is a big pain point in terms of design affecting job design affecting encounter progression. Picto probably the best example, which is going to be a point that we will get to here, where jobs with really good downtime tools were highly valued, especially in the early parts of the fight, when that doesn't actually matter later in the fight. So I mentioned Viper earlier. Great example. Awful job for the first couple of phases, and then absolutely one of the top performing jobs in the last 2. These things kind of all reflect that, where jobs with the amount of 2-target strength a job has is specifically relevant in that 4th phase. But the analysis of that phase in a vacuum becomes valuable information for how jobs are balanced on 2-target if they were to ever do it again. So it is a good, at least Well, on the surface, it seems almost meaningless, especially with Fru specifically in mind, because it doesn't really need those changes. It is something that in a vacuum is probably good to better understand how your jobs perform in 2 target scenarios, in case you want to do them again in the future, so we don't have discrepancies like the early phase Picto problems.
And chat's bringing up that it's always going to be at minimum eye level synced for an ultimate.
Yeah, so 735, it'll technically be 5 item levels higher than it was when we progged it. 735 is because the weapon that we use in Fru is 735, so they just make that the item level cap, so the weapon doesn't have to get synced down.
So you'll actually be a little higher.
Yeah, so in 7.3, the dungeon of 7.3 will drop 735 armor, and a lot of people tend to collect that dungeon gear if they're going back to do like the ultimate in the same expansions. Like they might like collect all the left side or like the pieces that are really good, and then bring those back into Fru
Interesting.
as like a new BIS.
Because
kind of cool.
Because it's better to have gear of the actual item level than it is to have gear that's reduced down to the item level.
Yeah, because then your material works.
Oh, interesting.
That's especially important for healers and tanks because they usually meld like direct hit.
Yeah.
So if they don't meld the direct hit, it's all gone. Yeah.
Shit.
Wow,
Okay,
that's
all right.
tricky. Okay.
Well, that's kind of dope. I like that. Okay, I did not know that. No, I'm sure someone at some point has tried to make us aware of this and was probably in chat and I probably missed it, but that's really rad. Oh, hell yeah, Kyle. Let's go grind a dungeon.
Yeah, a year. Let's make sure we make that
grinding dungeons. Yeah. Sorry, what's that? Oh, you a black mage?
Yeah, well,
are you ready?
Wait, could we have?
Do you want to stretch?
Can we get my reading eye human Garrett to read the whole black mage in a nice dramatic voice for us?
Sure. Also, Chad has been asking that we read the all rolls note at the top of the adjustments overview.
Okay.
Because we're probably, although this is probably less relevant to black mage because it only name drops Pictomancer. But all rolls say we have made adjustments to a variety of actions after reviewing the offensive capabilities of melee and ranged DPS rolls, as well as the balance within all rolls due to the unique nature of future battle design. We anticipate situations in which close ranged attacks may be difficult to execute, so we have generally increased the attack potency of melee DPS rolls. Then it goes in the Pictomancer, so none of this is going to be relevant. And then finally, adjustments to the direction of potency for multiple targets in certain areas of effect actions were made mainly in order to achieve a better balance with ultimate raids. It's exactly what Happy's been saying the whole time. Now let's get to the note about Black Mage, unless Happy looks like he's ready.
He's Squidwarding. Future.
I thought you were going to Mr. Incredible. You can't change math, but never mind. That makes more sense. Anyway, their note on Black Mage reads, future battle design may cause difficulty with casting spells, so we have shortened the cast time for a variety of actions. Furthermore, the effect expiration of Astral Fire and Umbral Ice has been largely detrimental to attack power in situations where players must interrupt casting to address battle mechanics. For this reason, these statuses will no longer expire. In patch 7.1, ley lines became a charge-based action, which has resulted in movement restriction lasting longer than intended, so we have reduced its duration. In light of all these changes, we have generally amplified Black Mage's firepower by increasing attack potency and adjusting the trait Enochian. I've never actually had to say that out loud. I don't know how to pronounce that.
We call it Eno-chan.
Okay.
Of course you
wonderful.
do.
Wonderful.
Okay. Well, that was all very lovely and flowery. What does that mean, Mr. Happy?
It means that we have to take their word that we're going to be doing a lot of moving, and that all of this is under the intention of, seriously, we need Black Mages to feel like. So again, the standard expression of the job, standard rotation, generally has a lot of standing still and casting. But the non-standard doesn't really. Like I said, Fru has been beaten with Black Mage rotations where they cast 0 spells that have a cast bar. So this is done again with standard in mind.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they honestly, that details almost every change. All the cast times are brought down to 2 seconds. All the timers, their Thunderhead timer, their Firestarter timers, all removed, umbral ice, astral, like literally that. You don't even need to read the notes. That pretty much tells everyone what's happening with like that summarizes everything that's here to the point where it barely matters. Like there is an AoE reduction in here thrown in, like, you know, foul now has only a 25% fall off instead of a 60% fall off. To spay, everything's it's all 2 seconds. Probably the biggest shock is that the 3 1% buffs they did to Ino-chan have now been undone. Every patch they were like, oh, Black Mage needs a little buff, and they give it 1% on Enochian. And so they just undid those 3 1% buffs.
I'm sorry, Happy. Just for my ability to learn, could you stick with the pronunciation of?
Oh yeah, Ino-chan. Got it. Yeah,
we'd be consistent on that. Yeah, thank you.
Ino-chan. You have to say it like,
oh yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
you tap your fingers together, everything. Yeah, you gotta really lean into it.
Ino-chan. Yeah.
So,
can you wait just to make sure you understand? Can you say it so I know that you're hearing it correct? So I hear it back.
Ino-chan.
All right, it's getting there.
Do we have a Kun ability
okay.
we could give Black Mages so they can get both?
One day,
hopefully Thunder Kun or something like that. We can do this.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
I'm trying to understand the emotion of all of this. Sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
Was the? Yeah, I know it's varying a lot. Very serious topic. Were the mages scathing in Fru? Like, how did they do this? How did they?
They played the job, honestly. They didn't really struggle with it. I don't think this is not a Fru change. This is a whatever we're about to do. You haven't seen it yet. Trust me, you'll want it. And nobody believes them. And to be fair, I think that's a fair way to feel. You're not gonna be like, yeah, I'm sure. I never figured it out before. It looks at 0 cast bars.
And wouldn't it been like more tactical to maybe release the content, let Black Mages go, I can't even survive in this, and put this out 2 weeks later if it's in the new Savage?
Don't think they wanted to take that approach.
Okay.
They would sooner walk this forward and walk it back, I feel, than not walk this forward before the content hits.
Do you? Okay, now this is where I want to go emotional investigating, because I'm seeing a lot of emotion from Black Mage players. Do you think they will walk it back? Because the energy I'm getting from the room is that they have a history of never walking things back.
They walk smaller things than this back. Not this, though. Also, by the way, don't ever bring up Scather on Black Mages. Don't do that.
No, I'm aware of this because it was right there, and
you said it anyway.
Well, there's a lot of movement during Ifrit on normal, and you think to yourself, well, I got to keep moving, and they gave me this brand new button just like a level ago.
Black Mages are going through a lot right now. Kyle's just trying to. You ever hit your finger with like a hammer, Happy, and then you with your other hand you punch the thing like, so that it takes your mind off of the hand you just hit with the hammer?
I've never hit my hand with a hammer. I've stapled 2 fingers together once. That wasn't fun. But I never hit my hand with a hammer.
You ever hurt yourself and then you do something else that also hurts you, but it kind of takes your mind off of the original pain?
No.
Or do you not experience the fragile masculinity?
I punched a hole through a chalkboard in middle school. But
okay, there you go. There you
know.
Go.
But that was just the chalkboard. That wasn't mad at the chalkboard. It was just it was a byproduct of other events.
All right. Well, what I'm saying is Kyle's mentioning skates just take Black Mage's mind off of what they're currently, the target of the current.
Yeah, but I think they want to punch a hole through a chalkboard more than anything. I think Black Mage
they do.
Yeah.
And so Kyle's scathe comment is the blackboard that will distract them, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So,
yeah,
anyway.
and we'll punch directly through it.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So,
but they either you have to adapt or not play in this case, and that's a tough decision to throw in everybody's face.
Yeah, nobody likes that. Nobody likes being told the thing you enjoyed is not what you enjoyed anymore.
No one does. Absolutely, no one does. And that's the vibe I'm getting, and that's why I think like I land on the side of Black Mages, even though I'm coming to this with limited knowledge. But the Black Mages I've talked to, like that's kind of the vibe, because I may not have been with 14 long enough to experience this, but I have played other MMOs long enough to experience this. And this has happened to me time and time again over in World of Warcraft, with classes I have played the living shit out of and classes I have not played the living shit out of. But like, yeah, it's Like I think they just ruined Death Knight over in World of Warcraft. So like I feel you. I feel you, Black Mages. I don't know enough to say if I think this ruins it. I do look at that that nerf to ley lines and go, well, hey, seems like that makes things a little more difficult. And I am seeing. Let me just finish my thought, and then you can weigh in and hopefully fill in my knowledge gap. Happy. I have seen the word friction more than 500 times this morning, whereas up until this point, I have never once seen a single person mention the word friction. So someone out there said they're removing friction, and it feels like that's become a hive mind, hot topic phrase to use. First off, do you know who actually said friction? Because there's no way this many people have decided to start using this word this morning without an exciting incident.
I have a rule that with social media, I only ever look at the following tab, and so I will never see people's opinions that I don't already think I want to see.
Oh, this has nothing to do with social media and everything to do with our YouTube chat right now. So, I guess YouTube is social media.
So. I'm not following your YouTube chat, so
okay,
still worse.
All right. So I showed up this morning and I was like, oh, Black Mages are mad because they're getting made easier. They're getting homogenized. They're getting simplified. They're not going to be as special. But then I look at ley lines and I go, that seems like it would make things more difficult. But you're saying it's not so simple.
I'm saying everything else means it barely matters in the first. So one of the big things with ley lines is actually reducing your cast speed. And all the cast speeds just went down anyway. So yes, like it will still reduce the like
gotcha.
Like let's say you did a 20% reduction on 2.8 versus a 20% spell speed reduction on 2. Like there's that's not as, don't get me wrong, like faster casting is faster casting for more time. But the idea is that probably on average, the game asks you to move more than once every 20 seconds. So 10 seconds of those ley lines, you just might be fighting for, or you may not even be able to do if the boss doesn't attack. I've seen plenty of people. Black Mages will science out a place where maybe their ley lines make sense for the entire thing, but 30 seconds is a long, long time. So I don't think this is going to matter at all. No one cares. And you have 2 charges of it now. So if you really want to do it again, go right ahead.
Gotcha. So in your eyes, the baked in benefits of reduced catch times across the board, it does play in to the concerns from Black Mage players of kind of.
I mean, this whole thing does. But again, it's one of those, they want us to take our word for it now. Here's the thing, even if they're technically correct and that the amount of movement should be reflected in job design, I still think modern Black Mage players probably would have figured it out. Like, the only thing is again, would new players want to figure it out? No, probably not, in all honesty, or very few of them. So the adoption rate would have stayed low. But I think current Black Mage players would have figured it out. They already had it figured out, technically.
From what you've said earlier, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. I just know that as a Fizz range player, I just pretend Black Mage players don't exist.
Yeah, how much of this is a symptom and not like the core disease? Like, because if all of this, we keep coming back to talking about just the ask of constant movement, is the disease fight design?
I'd say the disease is the players. Much like most of humanity. Because almost everything that's happened has been a result of players having feedback and it being responded to the T. Like, again, I mentioned like half these changes are not like all the changes, but again, like things like Thunderhead and all the timers in particular, like that was definitely a big one. But over the years, I mean, we got to the 2-minute meta from a series of feedbacks that occurred over years. That wasn't just the devs going, that's how we want it. I can literally timeline the feedbacks that get us to that point.
But did that feedback come up because we're just Mad Hatter like teacups for entire fights, for entire raid wings? Like,
It's more like you just get to a moment that something annoys you, and you're just like, you say it over and over. Like, I'll give you a great. So Bard's battle voice used to be 3 minutes on the cooldown, 180 seconds. So it didn't line up. It lined up at the start of the fight and at 6 minutes, and then at like whatever was available at 3. So what did most bards go? They go, man, it's so stupid that mine's 3 minutes. It doesn't line up with anything. Like, why not just make it 2? We
But
miss
are they,
threes
like,
now.
And so everyone, and
like-
then we helped produce this demon of the 2-minute window.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I
That's
see
it's the same.
what I see is the difficult question to ask, though, is like, was that wrong? Like I do see
Technically,
that-
no.
yeah. So like that's the part that I wish I saw more conversation about, because like I don't think it's inherently wrong to say back in my day. I do not think there's anything inherently wrong about that, and I find it interesting. However,
So-
like no one brings up the alternative, which was what you just said. Well, you can have a 3-minute window on a unique job, and everyone's going to be mad about it because it doesn't line up.
But here's the thing: what people saw, what was what's the thing where you see something right in front of you, but not what's down the line? What's the turn of
Nearsighted.
phrase for that?
You're being too nearsighted.
Yeah, I
Tunnel
mean that's it.
vision?
But I was looking
Tunnel vision.
more. I was looking more for an analogy of some.
The forest and
Yeah.
the trees kind of business.
Yeah,
You
that
can't
one.
see the forest for the trees. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see the forest through the trees. People were like, yeah, man, that's really annoying. They should fix that. The result ended up being that all of the damage profile happens at 0 to 4, 6, etc. And that everything that happens in between basically doesn't matter in the fight. Like, you just need to be not like a corpse practically and just be pressing buttons in the like a semi-competent manner during that time. So it meant that the damage profile of a fight, instead of it being like let's say it's like this and then this and then this, right? Now it's like, so if this part goes wrong ever, you're fucked.
It's not even peaks and valleys, it's plateaus and valleys.
Yeah, it's plateaus and like that was the problem that it created from that. So it was a lot of people thinking that their feedback was solving a problem that mattered, when the problem it created was far worse.
I don't want to keep hitting you with hypotheticals, but you've got answers for everything, and I think it's interesting. Are you afraid of the feedback you're giving right now? Because if now you're saying if the feedback they keep receiving is 2-minute window is a bit boring and makes me feel like outside of that window, none of us are doing anything particularly interesting or contributing all that much damage, do you fear where they spin that a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now?
No, because I think at this point we just hit both extremes. We hit like, it's a matter of, we found this, we found the bottom, we found the top. Now it's like finding the medium in between and then getting adjustments from there. I think we would benefit from moving away from 2 minutes and needing to make changes entirely focused around these big hits, critical hits, because like we've just hit a point where like you have the 2-minute window, everything goes perfect, great. How many times did you crit? How many times did you crit direct hit? Like, we've had literally entire fights where people's rotations were nigh on perfect, and the variance of damage was like 2.5% of the boss's health. And like, it's not healthy for the game. It also means that it's less engaging overall.
What do you think of
Need
Brute
a
Bomber's
medium.
design in him basically taking a break at every 2-minute window?
I liked Brute Bomber as a fight. But as that particular bit, it makes you, so a fight like that makes you afraid that that's something they'll fall into. Is that the 2-minute window, they'll be afraid to challenge you during that time. And you don't want that either. Like, even if you're gonna even if you're gonna like start allowing 2 minutes, like you really want to be challenged in a 2-minute window. But that was like, that's like a standout as like one specific case where the 2-minute is super free. Whereas we have plenty of more cases of 2 minutes not being super free.
Yeah, because the next one, Wicked Thunder, she didn't really give a shit. But
yeah, Wicked Thunder has a few easy ones and a few hard ones.
But it would have been
pretty
interesting if you would have answered that as like, I hated that. I'm so sick of them playing into it, because that would have shown an issue with the
they don't do that. They don't do that super often. Like, Brute Bomber is pretty exceptional in that regard, that he was really like, no, come on, give it to me.
I was going to say, I think that's why it stands out, because that doesn't really exist with the other 3 fights.
Yeah. So I can't like say, oh, they're clearly leaning into it when I think of all the other experiences I've had. Like, I don't remember Valagar Mandarin Zoraljaw super well, but I just remember how much I enjoyed doing those fights, and I think 2-minute windows fell in pretty okay spots for those as well. And looking through the Arcadian, there's a good mix in all the fight. I mean, Honeybee makes you panic like every mechanic, because you're like, please don't fuck this up, please don't fuck this up, please don't fuck this up, please don't fuck.
I feel like something broken in me, because I think Honeybee might be my favorite of that wing.
Well, some people are into CBT, so you don't need to figure it out, Kyle.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying, but I won't ask.
It's closed beta. Yeah.
Oh, closed beta. Okay.
Okay. So in closing on Black Mage, their right to be upset gets their anger gets the happy approval.
I would never say they're wrong. I just can't put any more energy into Black Mages. Is really what it comes. Like, as a Fizz ranged player, when I watch everybody else complain, I'm just like, yep. Yeah, tell me more. That's great. And they're like, we muted you already when we're talking to you. And it's just like, I'm like, that's fine. I can still hear you. No, tell me all about it.
At least summoners and red mages are happy, right?
Anyway, so we're going to scroll down, and 20 potency on Necrotize and 1,000 potency on Exodus. Have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Every episode. One of the greatest TV comedies of all time.
Remember when Rosa they go to prison, like when they go, and then Sergeant and Captain come to visit Rosa, and he goes, one of the destabilizing aspects of jail is having your identity taken away, Rosa. I just want to remind you that you are Rosa. Rosa. Yep, that fixes prison. That's pretty much Summoner right here. Yep,
so that fixes prison. They have no identity, and increasing potency on 2 abilities is not really.
You're a summoner. Yep, that fixes the job.
Hey, well, hang on. Magical range DPS. Keep this in mind. We have increased attack potency of the roles other than Pictomancer to achieve a better balance between magical range DPS jobs. So you should be happy you didn't get nerfed.
Yeah.
By perspective, we have made the canyon wider.
It's really more like a chasm, like an open gaping. It's like a trench.
I look at Summoner as a backpack, and they're saying we really want to be a roller backpack, and Square says the best we can do is give you keychains, and those keychains are their summons.
Yeah,
they look impactful, but they're just damage abilities with extra visuals.
They are visuals. They are summoning, though. There's definitely summoning happening. And then Red Mage, some potency buffs as well. Bicep Thorns. Red Mage kind of flew under the radar for most people who don't play it. Ended up being really, really goated in Fru. Like, Fru's ultra recoverable fight, and Red Mage's damage output is very considerable in a lot of the phases, especially the earlier ones. So ended up being kind of an unsung hero. We had it replace melee for one of our runs, and honestly, it was probably the best run we had from a person who is literally like top level melee proficient in all 6 of them.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah. So Red Mage kind of in a really good spot for that. We'll see how it goes for the Savage tier, but don't sleep on Red Mage right now.
Something we don't talk about very often, but it's something in a more general aspect, I find fascinating and pretty cool, and also helps Final Fantasy XIV stand apart from other MMOs, which is just that, like, how much recovering is a part of its like fight DNA that isn't as common
until it's top
other MMOs. Well, I'll let you know when I get there. All right.
I sure hope you like that sound.
Is the Pictomancer apocalypse over?
They did exactly what we were all hoping they would do, actually. This is on point.
High praise.
we said the downtime tools were the problem, and that in uptime they were in a pretty okay spot after some changes they had made to Savage in the previous tier. And so they took away some of its downtime power and put it into its uptime power. That's exactly what most people thought they were going to do. They gave it all of its combo actions, its basic fire and red, whatever. All that stuff got potencies, and then they hit the potencies on their muses. They even gave them some AoE potency to boot because they don't really need to worry about the reduction, the AoE reduction. There is some of that in here, the AoE reduction. You especially see it in Palm Muse and Winged Muse, and I was actually surprised they nerfed that as well. But that's an exchange for everything the other things that they're doing. Hopefully, it's not a swing too far, but I haven't run the numbers. I don't usually run the numbers, but it's at least in the vein of exactly what we kind of expected.
So it's a redistribution of the power pie to a different part.
It's redistribution with a nerf. There's still absolutely a nerf in here.
Why did they seem so sad about that in the live letter and also in the statement they wrote? It's very melancholy that they even had to go that far.
They pride themselves in very rarely nerfing jobs. They want every player to see their job get buffed and get excited about the patch. And so when they have to nerf something, they're always like, sorry.
Interesting, because in that regard, this patch seems so outside of the jobs that got like a lot of changes, because everything else it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm excited about second target damage being slightly better, but that to me that doesn't light a fire. That doesn't get me hyped.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. It's very clearly we're doing this because we need to do it finally, and not because we want to do it. But people have been screaming for this for almost a year at this point.
Yeah.
So
we're coming up on it. And I mean,
yeah.
To me, that seems slow as hell in terms of.
They really wanted to see if they could solve the problem without nerfing Picto. Every solution they wanted didn't involve Pictomancer, but Fru, I was a very clear wake-up call. And in fact, the reason they're probably making a lot of adjustments to other jobs is because now people can't go, oh, we have a Picto, so it's fine. Like a lot of the like melee, like AoE redistribution and like across, it's almost certainly because of the Picto nerfs here.
Because they were recovering so much damage in the first place. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they even bring up this Palm Muse. That would be the in-between, I'm going to draw some pictures while the boss is singing their little song.
Yeah. And the redistribution of power here was important because some people were like, they should just make it so they need a target to cast their paint. That would have been awful. I've played this game long enough. I've played Bard. I played the version of Bard where I need a target to sing. You shut your fucking mouth if you think giving Picto a target to paint would have been a good idea. No. I've lived that life. I'm not going to wish it upon anyone else.
I was there, Gandalf.
I was there, Gandalf.
When after you talk so highly of like a monk being able to do some of their stuff on the in-between times.
Yeah, monks requires a lot of active. Like if you're someone who forgets to press buttons during downtime, you don't play monk. You're totally like only play it if you want to get better at it. Because if you just forget to do your combos in between as monk, that's gonna hurt a lot later.
Oh.
How is Bard in DSR? Bard in DSR is knowing when to sing before the boss downtime occurs. So I actually make sure that I get the right song when it comes back up. Because if I don't get the right song when it comes back up, then I have to go song list to make sure that I actually realign my songs. And then I look like a fucking idiot. That's how. And then healers.
Not a lot going on.
They gave them all dot potency except for Astro, which got Gravity 2 potency, and Oracle now does have AoE fall off. Oracle hits really hard on Astro. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I guess that was a okay, so the gravity. So I guess in the situation, even the healers were AoEing, because it makes sense that tanks AoE damage and everyone else is AoE damage, but even the healers were throwing in their 2 cents.
Oh yeah, I mean Oracle is massively powerful. Like Oracle hits harder than like my bard skills all. White Mage has a misery, which is a big deal, and I don't mean the job is miserable, but that too. They have a Flatus misery. Yeah, no, they have plenty of AoE. Art of War is a gain on 2. You know, that's a classic. So yeah, no, they were definitely doing that.
So seems like some pretty, I mean, at least some future design that can be gleamed, but achieve better balance within the healer role. Like we're not seeing any sort of reaction change update to healing outside of in the fight design, which do you feel like has been more interesting in Dawn Trail?
Dawn Trail's fight design has been, for non-tanks, top tier. For tanks, they have Valgar Manda, and that's pretty much it. That's like the one thing they really need to do better.
That's why I was asking
encounter design for tanks.
where you were thinking just on encounter design in general, because I feel like
Yeah,
pretty much everything, like there's obviously unique aspects to all of it, but as I've now done my first, my first 4 savages, well, cleared but done chaotic. I haven't stepped into ultimate yet, but if I were to say anything blends together, it's the just constant state of always moving, always dancing, always running.
Which
and I could see that getting a little long in the tooth.
Well, with that, I did want to ask about this note, just a little bit of a jump down about the following actions now be queued for execution with sprint in there. Is that important? Is that good? Is that fancy?
Oh, that's immensely important. So I will explain this to you. So Final Fantasy XIV has a back-end system that queues actions that are pressed before actions can be activated. So that means that if you were to, let's say you just wanted to test this, if you go and press an action button, right? You press 1, and then you see the global cooldown ticking down. When it's like 2/3 done, press 1 and take your hands off the keyboard, and you'll see that it will, as soon as the action bar is done, use the skill. It has queued the skill to be used as soon as the action is available, as soon as it can be used. What that does is it means that there's no client to server side MS between the player's decision and the server's actually registering the skill, because it's queuing it ahead of time so that there doesn't need to be a signal that's actually sent. So that's the whole point of that. These 3 you could not queue and you could not activate until the previous action queue window was done.
Oh, that's why I got to spam the shit out of sprint.
Yes. It's why people were making sprint macros. So it would try to activate it 15 times in one press instead of just pressing it once and hoping it works.
I have one of those, yeah.
Yeah. You don't need that anymore. You won't need it anymore.
And
that's
I can
the point
also
of this.
Eat 2 meals really quick if I want a full hour. So that's saying there?
So I would still not eat between the global cooldown unless you forgot to eat.
Well, yeah, ideally.
Because it's still, the action delay is still really long. It doesn't say anything about fixing the eating action delay. But I mean, yeah, you can do that. Just I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't weave it on purpose. But the point is that no longer will you get to the end of a pull and be like, or like, you'll get like a minute past your 2-minute window and be like, wait, my pot didn't go off? Or like, sprint, come on.
Yeah, someone who's only been potting somewhat recently because I'm actually doing on content, difficult content. Yeah, I noticed that. That seemed very odd that potions were such a pain in the ass to actually pop.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what that means, is that issue is gone after 11 years.
Nice.
12
I feel like
years.
there should be a
Congratulations.
celebration of this.
Well,
Oh, we are celebrating. Trust me, we have been.
Because I woke up in maybe this can help us put a bow on the job changes conversation. Because I woke up this morning into what seemed like a world of extremely bad vibes. like the first few takes that hit me like strays were that folks think this is a bad patch to be reductive about it.
Okay.
But I don't know how much of that is being directed by personal investment. How many of those players are Black Mage players? How many of those players are machinist players that were maybe hoping to get a little bit of a bump?
Notice me.
Yeah.
Listen, they've been asking that. So machinist player Saranaya, he said right before the Dawn Trail job action trailer came out, he said, I swear if they cold open with flamethrower one more time, because that's what they've been doing for like expansions now. They cold open that job action part. And as soon as that happened, I was like, they fucking did it again. He's gonna lose his mind. When we were at media. Oh my god.
Well,
It's like
but you lead a commercial for Disney World with the castle, like it's just kind of iconic.
That's not what anyone wants to hear about flamethrower, Kyle.
I don't think flamethrower is iconic.
People, the flamethrower is a G pose button, and okay, I'm doing a dungeon. I need to AOE, but seriously, I need a drink of my coffee right now.
Sure.
Press flamethrower. All right, now I can play again.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not famous, it's infamous.
So what's your So without getting into a deeper conversation with Kyle about how to advertise theme parks, what is your wrap up thoughts on the job changes for this patch? Happy, do you think it is as bad as some people are making it out to be? Because to me, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking like outside of Picto and Black Mage, I think this is like I'm not seeing much that even kind of excites me.
I'll be clear, I don't even know any Picto who's upset by this. Anecdotally, they're just like, yep.
Well, they know what they did.
Yeah. it's like I know it's like sure, you're getting the electric chair. I can expect that. I did kill the guy,
That makes sense.
So like, yeah,
the guy is Black Mage in this case, by the way.
I find these job changes a bit boring, and then I fall in support of Black Mages who are like, damn it, they came for me. So that's kind of where I'm falling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Black Mage is just impossible. The thing is like the split that I see with Black Mage is that there are Black Mages that see this and they're pretty interested to see how it actually plays. But there's a division between people who play Black Mage and Black Mage players. People who play Black Mage are people like me. I've picked it up and played it. I've done ultimates on it. I at the end of Shadowbringers, I made it a point to try to get an orange parse on all the fights on Black Mage. So I put in the effort before and like seen it and know how it works in some capacity in the past and have really enjoyed it. But I never cared for all the like non-standard, like, oh, here's 16 other ways to play the job, based on, how you woke up on that side of the bed that day. And if you ran out of mouthwash and your spell speed and, things that matter for Black Mages. So that's really the difference. The people who are just general Black Mage players who already pick it up, play it on occasion, just kind of play standard. They're like, oh, I'm really curious to see how this feels. It seems maybe like it could be a good bit of fun, just moving around fast and having the faster casts and, just feeling more like less of a turret and more like a machine gun in a sense, But then you've got the long time, like the people who write the dissertations and the guides who are like crashing out hard. And it's a matter of observation at this point to see where the dice lies at the end of the Savage tier, I guess, when opinions are fully formed.
Kyle, are you gonna just go AOE your ass off now as an astrologian?
Yes, kind of is what I do anyway in passing. Woo, red mage buff, like a pretty unexciting patch for me personally, but I also see what I see is a lot of burnout in the community, and this is going to exacerbate it. And if you need that opportunity for that breakup, that's healthy. You know, I played a game that changed my core role, my main hero, whatever it was, whatever video game, and they went and changed it. And I went, that's it, I'm done. I came back later, happier, free of guilt. But
I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. But I know that I know that's going to be an opportunity for many to kind of ride this wave out when it comes particularly to Black Mage. And I'm sad about that because it feels like a miss by the team. But also, I fully respect the human element on the other side of, well, I made a job and no one's playing it. Can I fix it? Can I change it? Can I get those numbers up?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's literally a matter of observation at this point. There's really nothing more to be saying. There's just nothing more because like you're not gonna you're either gonna find camaraderie with them or you're just gonna be like, dude, just like please take a Xanax or something and just come down a little bit. All right, whatever you need.
Sometimes you just need a break, and that's what I was excited to talk to you about because I was seeing a lot of unhappy Black Mages, and I wanted to come to this and be like, all right, I want to talk to Happy, and I want to through mining the past of Final Fantasy XIV balance changes, find out if the history of how changes are made and potentially rolled back have led to, in this case, Black Mages having this reaction, and I think they have. So I don't. I think if you look at this and you don't like it, I can understand dooming to some degree because it doesn't seem like devs have set a precedent for undoing unpopular changes.
I saw some Black Mage players that have the ley lines thing that they sold, the like fashion
that
piece.
Hoodie?
Yeah. They sold the hoodie and they sold the dress with that recent collaboration.
Black Milk, I think.
Yeah. And they look at it, they're like, never again.
Oh no. But they didn't run it over or anything, right? Like
Final Fantasy XIV TikToks of Black Mage players burning their
sweaters. Is there like that sprint one that was kind of hiding down there? Was there anything else you noticed in here that's kind of like, now wait a minute, well that's great?
I mean, usually there's always like patch notes stuff, but there's all stuff that was all in the preliminaries.
Okay,
that is mostly just being regurgitated here. The only thing that's really in addition done in these patch notes is the PvP adjustments, which I haven't really kept up with the PvP actions, so it's hard for me to even like. I can understand the new role actions that they added to large scale PvP. Like I can understand those in a vacuum, but the changes to existing ones, I'm not as capable of being constructive about. Honestly, the biggest thing is finally old PvP series rewards coming back, which we waited 7 series for to finally happen.
Wow.
The series 1 rewards. Yeah, because they said it. They said, hey, yeah, we're gonna make sure we roll these back at some point, and we're just like,
for any audio listeners, Happy is putting both hands on his head and then putting them forward and
gesturing like a
yes, come on.
Come on. So yeah, that finally happened, and that's been a long time. And it looks like it's with trophy crystals too, because it says new items are available for trophy crystals. So I assume that's where those are. Which probably the right decision to put it in there, if I had to guess. And then I don't know what else is even in here that's new other than the resolved issues, which usually has some comedy in it. You do like issues you had no idea existed, just like pop up sometimes. But a lot of times it's just issues I never heard anyone talk about before with like PvE or PvP actions.
It's usually really like in that case, it's typically minor things like with any game, right? Because if you haven't heard about it before, it means it probably wasn't massively game breaking.
Or if it was only under conditions that were not super easy to replicate. And thus not a priority to be fixed.
I mean, here's a good one. Drinking tea emote while using another emote during drinking animation resulted in steam effect being persistent on the player's hands.
But that's awesome. I want
that's
steam
cool.
I
hands.
know. They let us know too late.
You want steamed hams?
Could have had those steamed hands.
It probably makes your skin so soft.
You'd be wrinkly all the time. That'd be gross.
Nah,
Like you
I'm better
always
than that.
just got out of the bath.
Nah, well, if it's a bath bomb, I'll take it. I'll smell like lavender.
Okay. That's your go-to. Now we know. Now,
Yeah.
everybody, male happy.
No, so don't, because I have a cat. If you have a cat, do not diffuse lavender oil. Not a good idea.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Citrus and lavender, not usually good ideas to diffuse those with cats.
I didn't know that. I mean, I don't diffuse anything.
No, well,
but,
yeah.
I was unaware.
Yeah.
Huh.
So do not.
And on that note.
Yeah, because stuff to like repel cats from areas are usually made of citrus because they naturally know to stay away from it. Diffusing it's is a lot different though. Yeah, you generally just don't use diffusers with cats. It's usually the safer bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now that we're talking about cats, I believe we have reached the conclusion of our discussion about the job changes.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, thanks for letting us
crash.
Yeah, crash into your job change rundown. Really appreciate the knowledge you had.
Oh, this was fun. I would do this again. This was I mean, it's a good thing. Imagine if I said, yeah, that's never happening again.
Just at the end here, you're like, guys, you really got in the way of me having a conversation. I'm annoyed, and let's not do it again. And then we'd be like, okay, well, we had fun. Thanks for the one-off, and I guess we won't ask you to do this again. But instead, I'll simply say thank you for your time, and we probably will ask you to do this again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Keep in mind, so to give everyone else in the streams a little bit of insight, we weren't sure if we were doing this 100% because the last 7.1's patch notes didn't become available till 7 p.m. But that's because it wasn't a 24-hour maintenance, I believe. So the patch notes won't go live until the servers are down. I don't remember.
Yeah, did 7.1 not have a 24-hour maintenance? I thought it did, but I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, because I checked the patch note release timing. It said 7:30 p.m. For those ones. So
that would have been Pacific time, right?
Yes, I believe.
So that would have been pretty wicked late for us.
Wicked.
Well, we could talk about doing it in the future. I mean, if we can keep it to 2 hours, we could probably do a special one-off night stream with Happy. But we'll talk about it in the future. That's a problem for 7.3. We'll see what happens.
No, I can tell you right now, I'll be dead asleep by the time if the patch notes go live. I'm dead asleep by 5 p.m. today. I'm gonna be up at 1 a.m. Well, so there's a probability the patch goes live early tomorrow. I would guess no more than 45 minutes early, but still a chance it's up early. So I'll probably be live at like 1:15, 1:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Damn. Okay.
And I have raid that night.
Woo! That's what we decided we were gonna. We couldn't figure out what the hell we were gonna do. We're gonna do Arcadian normal tomorrow on stream.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna start with.
Extreme trial for me.
Nice.
Oh
nice.
yeah, you gotta get straight to that.
And Wednesday, Thursday, we're gonna 2-part the MSQ. Because last time it took us like 7 hours to get through doing all our silly voices and stuff. We're like, let's break that up.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. And for our podcast listeners that are getting this after the drop, where can folks find you, Mr. Happy?
Mr. Happy 1227, pretty much everywhere. That's I'm consistent, thankfully nowadays. Yeah, just working on 14 stuff. Got my Final Fantasy Platinums in tow. I'm working on that right after this. I get to kill turtles for the next 5 hours. That's
nice. And we'd like to give you a special shout out for your guides because I'm sure you got an extreme guide coming out real soon, and then after that it'll be savage guides because we have used your guides and we can attest that they work. You can learn from watching a Mr. Happy guide.
Preposterous.
Oh, wonderful. Well, all right, dude, you get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your stream.
Thanks
Sounds good. Thank you for keeping me company.
No, thank
you. Couple of hours of stream. Yeah.
Seriously, thank you. It was great having this being able to pull from your knowledge base and get your
This is a fun ass 3-stack.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your days. Enjoy your patch, and I will talk to you when we still got to do the Final Fantasy 11 thing. Got to figure that out at some point.
Yes.
We gotta find out sometime. We gotta figure out a goal and then how long it'll take to meet that goal, and then we can come up with some sort of schedule.
I can figure that out very easily. So
hell yes.
I will be your guide for that.
All
one.
right.
Oh yes. All right.
Yeah.
Rad. All right.
All right.
Well, GG. Have a good one.
Take
Good
care.
luck.
As it
Good luck.
explodes, I'd like to remind folks that if you like what we do over here, you should check
Yes.
out our Patreon over at supportourbromance.com. It'll take you. What?
Where Garrett is spelled correctly.
Oh, you're still here. Hi.
When he started saying, I was like, my stream could hear this too. I had my finger over
Right?
disconnect.
Oh, that's very kind of him.
This is why I like working with you, man. You are thoughtful and knowledgeable.
Yeah, except for the part where I didn't ask even a single time until you started saying it,
Well, it's fine. Anyway, supportourbromance.com. Check it out. That's our Patreon. Whether you want to chip in like $1 our way or more, whatever works for you works for us. Thanks for the support, everybody. Check it out. Supportourbromance.com or just become a YouTube member. It's like a Twitch membership, but people actually watch us on YouTube. So, yeah.
All right. Now I'm going to hang up.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good. Bye.
See you next
Bye. All right.
As we come over-
I can unbreak you really fast.
Okay.
Because I just hit undo a bunch and go.
Well, while you unbreak me, let's get in the Wayback Machine and thank Frederick for becoming a member before we even went live this morning.
There you go.
Dude, I am about to have a seizure watching that. Wow. Was that just a bunch of undos?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of undos.
Interesting. Wild. That was cool. But yeah, thank you, Frederick, for becoming a member. Thank you, Chris, for 34 months. Saying just got back from Wood Badge Weekend 2 Advanced Scout Troop Leadership Training. Happy to share this Monday with GG and ease me back into office work. Oh, hell yeah, Chris. How'd you have a good one? Also, Chris, thanks for the raise. I don't know if you noticed, Chris up their pledge over on the
oh, hell yeah.
Patreon.
Thank you.
And really appreciate that, dude.
Oh, speaking of Patreon, we're going to be playing Split Fiction here in about an hour and a half or so.
Frick, I need to install it then.
Yeah.
I almost didn't make the show this morning. I woke up in extreme physical pain and hacking up a lung.
Oh, geez.
But the allergy meds
yes, that makes sense.
are kicking in, which is a good sign. Means it's probably allergies and not something worse. I almost called in sick today, dude. It was close. So I have looked at nothing. And we will need to wrap this up fairly quickly because I need to go figure out lunch before our Patreon stream.
And then we'll be back with Split Fiction later.
But before I forget, let me install this.
Are you buying?
So, wait. Do only one of us need
I believe it's one of those where like you just invite a friend code kind of thing.
Oh, thank Christ! Did you already buy it?
No, I haven't bought it yet.
I don't want to tell you to spend the $50, but I feel like you have a higher chance of continuing.
I have a
to play
higher
it
chance of
me.
playing a co-op game with
All
family afterwards. Yes. So.
All right, cool. I'll buy you. I'll get our next round of drinks.
All right, sounds good. I'll purchase.
Cool. So you go ahead and do that, and
Cool.
then I'll install game. Click to install now.
Perfect.
Install. Accept. Library. There it goes. Oh, wow. That is a fast install. Holy shit. Damn. Cool. All right, sick. Anyway, hi, chat. How you doing? Sorry, I know there's limited chat reactions, but you were mostly saying based. So
well,
I didn't.
That's good. Mostly.
I saw a lot of bass today.
Good.
I saw a lot of bass today,
Okay, excellent.
and a lot of calm takes on Black Mage. Although I did hear from a friend of mine who I'm not out because I don't know if they want to be outed, but someone I like very dearly who said they're going to quit based on these Black Mage changes, and I'm very sad about that.
Absolutely, and like no one wants to be told that they're burnt. It's the last thing you ever want to hear when you're burned out is someone like, "Oh, you're burned out and you take a break." And I don't want to accuse anybody of that. I've been there, and it was with World of Warcraft when they did all that chakra bullshit to Holy, and I was pissed, and I left for a good long while, and it was healthy for me. Like it was the culmination of my need to take a break from the game. So,
I think that is usually typical.
but also, it's like the last thing you want to ever hear when you're actually like really into a game and you're reaching a breaking point.
Yeah. When you just want blood, the last thing you want to hear is Kyle to put on his happy face and be like, "We learned a lot tonight.
Yeah.
We learned this. We learned that."
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Sometimes you just want you just want to have your own quiet emotional moment land, and then you just want to turn the stream off. Sometimes that's what you want.
I can't cleanse every doom. Is really what it comes down to. I can help.
What? No, that's not at all what I was getting at.
Are you not doing? You're not doing a big analogy for the chaotic cloud of darkness?
I am doing an analogy for chaotic.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. A lot of people were concerned about me. A lot of people thought I hated the fight or was legitimately mad at you. And neither were true.
Oh,
I just, I was having a real emotional moment. I was actually mad. And I just needed to calm down. That's all it was. Sometimes that happens. Honestly, the fact that it hasn't really happened until this point is, I'm proud of myself because I used to get a lot more angry for a lot less
okay, sure.
invested reasons. So yeah. Jasoni, thanks for the Gemma Super at the start of the stream. Said here's 20 for drinks. Judging by the reactions on socials, you're going to need it, and that's all I'm going to say. Luckily, we had Happy here to be our guiding star on whether we should let reactions on social get us down.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
Yeah. That's not what listen, man, I this is real. I'm not actually that sad, but it is real. I'm going to say, Drasonia, nothing on social can hurt me. I released a video that I'm deeply proud of that is the worst performing video of the last 6 months.
Oh, well, people really liked it, so.
The 7 people that watched it absolutely loved it.
10K. And they really liked it.
It is the worst performing video in a very long time. I probably would have done better making a World of Warcraft video. And that's rough. That's rough. So everyone can send their 7-1 or 7-2 takes. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. Lissa, thanks for 20 months. Said, morning. Good luck on navigating the absolute riot some folks are having. Thank you for having a non-toxic discussion. You sent that early, so you didn't know, but I think we kept it toxicity free.
I think so. Yeah, you know me, man. I'm flabbergasted, but also like I watched a 5-year-old and 2-year-old fight over their bagel being properly buttered. You know what I mean? Like I can't participate.
That's what
in
happens,
that
man. And like, Friday, I was like absolutely devastated by our video performance. I didn't want to bring it up to you because I'm just like, for all I know, he didn't like how I ended the chaotic stream, so I didn't even want to bring it up to you. I didn't want to come to you and be like, Kyle, I'm depressed. But then Saturday we had to start building a fence, and sometimes you do something in real life and you're just like, none of this shit matters, like because I'm physically fighting for my life right now because of oak roots. And very quickly you just move on and you're like, it's fine. You win some, you lose some. Try again next time. And that's, sometimes it's your kids fighting over bagels. Sometimes it's stabbing yourself with old chain link that an oak tree grew over. You never know. You never know. I really appreciate everybody saying how much you love the video in chat right now. Don't worry about it. You're not why I'm sad.
Well, Lissa
I got
says
YouTubed.
Lissa says here that we succeeded, so the faith was proven accurate. So we're all good there.
How did we succeed?
Well, because
succeeded not being toxic.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
hell yeah. Thank you, Lissa. Thank you. Kotar Super Garrett, if you're complaining about Final Fantasy bombs being circles with faces, how do you explain pufferfish? Pufferfish are not named after an inanimate object.
They do have bombs in that world, though.
Exactly. That's why I think it's weird.
What about Stickbug?
Tony, thanks for the 15 months. Happy that I'm able to catch this live.
Glad you could join us.
Soon as Super, are you saying we are the baddies, Mr. Happy? Probably. I mean, I think Happy implied that a couple times. I don't think it was judgmental though, because I think he also gave the impression that he is in fact guilty of the same thing.
It's a fascinating. It's a fascinating idea. By the way, I should probably get split fiction off the screen now since we're back to talking about patch changes.
Probably.
It's a fascinating idea because, like, in the Blizzard sphere, what you'll have is often a very knee-jerk, quick emotional reaction, nerf something to hell, and then come back around even 9 months later with a more thought-out rework kind of situation. And we got to see all those baby steps along the way with all the injuries and hurts that happen getting there. So it's a different way of doing things for sure when it comes to their patch notes.
Yeah. Our Wojo super, it's like Jeff Jarrett from old WWF. GARRETT. Garrett. I'm not familiar with Jeff Jarrett.
Lean into that Tigger, man. Just get yourself.
No, I hate Tigger.
Oh, you hate Tigger?
I hate Tigger. I've never really had a Winnie the Pooh phase. I kind of despise Winnie the Pooh in general.
It's extreme of despise.
It's just like, it's just so dull.
Do you hate Peppa Pig? Like, what's the issue?
I've never been exposed to Peppa Pig. So
well, they're just overly polite British animals, you know?
I think that's it. Yeah. I think it's I think it's boringly British.
And they're all just kind of,
it's all the boredom of British culture without any of the humor.
They're just kind of uptight. But, you know, that's how Christopher Robin wants to run his world. He's just kind of an uptight kid, and all his imaginary friends are uptight.
I like Eeyore, because I would also be that depressed if I had to hang out with all of those idiots.
And he's voiced by Optimus Prime, so.
Yes, it is. I mean, that voice, that is an iconic voice.
Mm-hmm.
So. But yeah, I'd never had a Winnie the Pooh phase. And then, like, when I was like reaching preteen years, that's when like the younger siblings in and around my life got into it, and I was like, this is just boring. So yeah, I'm sorry.
But even that slap, man, or even when it like drops the bait and it's like, donkey named Eeyore is his friend.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Kanga and little Roo.
I feel like Tigger Mania hit the same time as Elmo Mania, and I was just like, all of this needs to die in a fire. And
okay, yeah, sure. Elmo's recovered.
Because with Elmo,
Elmo's
I had at least watched Sesame Street growing up, and so Elmo felt like this interloper of, you're not even what's great about this. You're late to the party. Why do people care? And I guess I assume the same of Tigger, but I think Tigger has been around since the beginning. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think he has.
No, it just comes down to I didn't consume it at a young enough age, and so it just seemed like going to the DMV in terms of entertainment.
Damn.
Yeah. I can't help you, man. I like the original illustrations. That shit slaps. Those original books. I love that art style. And then they Disney-fied it, and it's just, I don't need it. Also, the ride replaced Mr. Toad's.
Yeah,
so
you can't hold that against Winnie the Pooh.
Yes, I can.
That was just business.
Yes, I can. You can hold business. You could absolutely hold a grudge based on business decisions.
Well, at least they're in their own business. I'm mad about other weird things. Like, I don't think Lego should have both Marvel and DC at the same time.
I think they should, because Mega Bloks suck.
Well, I'm just saying, like, just let one rest for a little bit. Don't have them all at the same time. You know, back in the 90s, you had to wait your turn for a property.
I bought those Warcraft Mega Bloks, and let me tell you,
they Mega Bloks
they were at Legos. Yeah. It wouldn't be fair to DC fans to be Mega Bloks. Let's be honest. If they had to choose, they would pick Marvel over DC, and DC fans would get left with an inferior product, and that would be a bummer.
They're important stuff.
I mean, DC enjoyers are used to getting saddled with an inferior product, but that doesn't mean they need additional inferior products. Wraithrin, thanks for the super. The leveling experience for Machinist going to feel really rough, though, in my opinion. 7-2 Scattergun now doing less damage than 7-1 Spread Shot feels oof.
That's an interesting result of it.
I would kind of across the board say that the leveling experience feels rough in general, no matter what job you're playing. I think it's difficult to learn a job in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah. We could sit here for 3+ hours talking about that, though, because you get one free. And that's also part of the issue. Is you're going to get a max level tune that you've barely done any battle content with.
Yeah. Some are worse than others, but in general, I think just leveling is not the best way to even learn how to play this game.
No. Well, maybe. No, because well, that's just part of that exchange, right? You have with World of Warcraft, and the way you kill so many things is you're constantly going, could I get away with killing 2 of these at once? And all of a sudden you're thinking about your talents and where you're standing and how you're maneuvering. And but also I've seen a lot of videos come from people trying hardcore, particularly from the RuneScape scene recently, where they're like, wow, Blizzard hates me and they don't want me to like their game. They don't teach me anything.
That's too deep for me to unpack right now.
Yeah, I was just giving my opinions and then moving on.
Exciser Super, Mr. Happy's I Have a Flamethrower guy reminds me of that kid in line with Ralph in A Christmas Story. You are very right, and I wish I thought of that. I haven't watched that in a long time, but probably because I used to watch it like 3 times per Christmas season growing up.
Never stayed awake through the whole thing. It's not a takedown. I've just never done it.
Hey, it's a little dry. A little dry. If I'm going to complain about Winnie the Pooh for being dry, I think I can give it to A Christmas Story. But I did consume it at a young enough age to appreciate it. So there's that. Christopher Clayton, super casual machinist, trying to figure out when to AoE is sort of like Kyle trying to figure out when to refresh dots. There is a right answer, but it baffles us.
Damn.
That's how I know. That's
wow.
That is, Christopher, you have proven yourself to be a true GG fan, because that is the most on point shit I have read.
What a savage
come
takedown.
out of our chat in a while.
Holy moly.
Damn.
The answer is whenever it feels right.
Yeah, that's a savage burn. Poopy said people that complain that it's absolutely no gear builds in 14 do not bother with best in slot for blue or gear for bis and ultimates, in my personal opinion. Damn. I need to bring that back to Happy to translate that.
Gear. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. When you're talking about getting the material, that was a cool workaround. That was very, very cute.
Yeah. Eric H said, you mean black mages aren't intended to just keep Umbral Ice up and run around scathing everything? I mean, that's how I have it on hide. By the way, don't deep dungeon as a black mage, Kyle.
Okay, I wasn't gonna. That sounds kind of miserable. But you were in a 4-stack, right? So you just were like trying to participate.
I went and got my jacket because I was like, I'm getting a deep feeling that we're not going to have time Thursday to go back in here.
I mean, if you said I want my jacket, like I was waiting for you, but also I had plenty to take care of, so I wasn't sad.
Gotcha. Thursday was kind of on fire. I don't remember everything, but I do remember we kind of came swinging into the stream with like no time to spare.
It's been busy. There's a lot going on.
It has been busy. Naoto, super, but I don't like pistachio. Then why did you ask for it?
Yeah, it's a true moment.
It's fair, but pistachio already exists, so you can go try it to know that you don't like it. You can't ask for something that doesn't exist with full knowledge of what the experience is going to be like. I'm going to take Kyle's face that he agrees with me.
But it's a nuanced topic.
Why'd you boo? Why did Mel boo?
Boo! I don't know.
Mel booed for something.
I don't know. It was about an hour ago, around the time of where people, or were they
they're
just
asleep now?
Well, they're 24 months, so I think they were just booing before going to bed, kind of thing. Like boo.
29.
29 months.
Oh, boo! Yeah, because there was a follow-up super that said, scroll by super chat for me since I haven't been able to watch your live stream for a while. It is stupid AM here, so I shall be logging off and going to bed now. No, really, I mean it this time. We'll see if that holds true. If Mel pops up again.
I think they did for good. You know?
Yeah, I think Mel actually went to sleep. Good for you, Mel. I hope you're dreaming of wonderful things. Rogue Mage Super, my psychologist wife has informed me that CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, and she will not be taking questions. As she should not. Don't
That's
wade
what Google
into
says.
Don't wade into the psychological minefield that is our chat. Don't do that. Don't do that. Florexia said, for me, this patch main Viper damage up, main tank Paladin damage up, but burst down, main healer Sage damage up, main caster Red Mage damage up, main Fizz range dancer damage. Ah! Okay, hell yeah. So you win some, you lose some, Florexia, and you scream some.
Yep. This reminded me a lot of a MOBA patch, of them being someone be like, I got it. And everyone's like, what? We're going to do some math and like really nuanced changes? No, I came up with this completely cool new idea. Fall off damage after second target. Oh, wow, we can give nerfs without everyone. And then they won't be true nerfs. And then like, but they're all nerfs. So everyone's like, oh, they're nerfs, but they're all nerfs, but they're not actually like real nerfs. Oh, we did it, guys. Oh,
frick.
Which I don't want that job. I don't want that job.
No.
I do not want to be a lead balance designer. I would love to be an encounter designer, maybe, but not a balance designer.
Yeah. Vane, thanks for the German Super saying, I loved your Arcadian vid. People, please go watch it. Wow. Thank you.
It's good. It's good, fun
video. Kendrick Supered Arcadian lore vid was honestly wonderful, but I can see why people might have skipped without realizing, even though I thought it seemed unnecessary until I watched it and loved it. Watch it, folks. It's great. Yeah, thanks for the supers. And however, my brain also goes to, man, I think we officially have made more in these 2 supers than we will from YouTube ad rev on that video.
There's plans. There's plans. Don't you worry.
There's plans. There's plans. Oh, okay. There's plans. No, there's plans. Yeah, this is a deeper thought. I have a lot of thoughts on this that I want to unpack. Some of it would just be full therapy, though.
Oh, okay. I'll sit down with you.
Yeah. I'll leave you with these parting thoughts that I will not go into deeper. I will not elaborate right now. But my brain goes. Everybody says they don't want drama videos, but that's what people watch.
Well.
I made a non-dramatic video that I was very passionate about. That was about something I enjoy in the game. And YouTube left it to die on the vine.
There's no urgency in that regard.
Yes.
But there's plans. There's plans.
I'm hoping it has life down the line. I hope down the line someone goes in the wing 2 and goes, wait, I don't remember shit. What happened? And then they go and they YouTube search it and then they find it. So, yeah. Don't make your audience that. I don't think our audience is that people. But yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, said I would not elaborate. I am not elaborating.
Perfect.
Kendrick. Oh no, sorry. Vane again. Thank you. Joy of Tigger is just that he's happy. He's a happy-go-lucky tiger. To me, he's Hobbs with Kyle energy. Oh boy.
Hobbs has his moment. Hobbs is kind of a dick, but so is Calvin. So it kind of works out. It makes sense why they're together.
Yeah, that would be my retort if I didn't. I don't want to continue being grumpy about Winnie the Pooh, because Winnie the Pooh never really did anything to me but come across my parlance too late into my life. That's really all it did wrong. I was exposed to it too late in life. It's not Winnie the Pooh's fault. But my retort would be, but Hobbs makes me laugh.
Hobbs does, yeah. Hobbs has his moments.
Yeah. Hobbs is actually funny.
And he can be wise, too. So I like the compliment a lot.
Yeah. Fingleberry Super, in my opinion, the genuinely most difficult part of learning a new job is how to set up your action bars. Game does nothing to help you learn proper groupings. It's because I think it is deeply personal how you group your things. Like, I don't think I would want the game to tell me how to do it, because the game probably doesn't take into account that I used R as a hotkey. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. It is very tough. But also, I don't think I would want the game to try and teach me.
I think the menu is helping. We're getting there when it comes to like the sub menus and the ways the abilities flow together. Those have improved since we started playing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm with you on that. Gabgano Supered, hate to be one of those guys, but with how much they wanted to change Black Mage, I would have been happier if they pulled resources for a new caster instead. I play other jobs, but that was my preferred magic class.
That is absolutely an honest take, and I respect it. That is constantly something that came up during redesigns in any MOBA or MMO I've ever covered. Like, why if you wanted an egg-laying little gremlin, then make that instead of the warrior that I had in mind for this particular Murloc.
That is very fair. Like, why was yeah, I think about HOTS a lot. I'm like, why was Augur Kaz?
So the best thing we want and the best thing we can say about this is that we hopefully will applaud them for not letting it rot on the vine, because they could have left it unchanged and it could actually be useless in the upcoming content and completely unwelcome, which would have been their fault for creating a toxic environment that we, of course, created for ourselves and kicked people out because they weren't Pictos or whatever, the community choose to do. But hopefully this is wise, but you're legit 100% okay to feel that way because we've all had it happen to us.
Yep. Art right now, supered as a summoner main while I'm disappointed in what happened with my job this expansion, aka not much. I'm just in the corner watching the fire going. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was only halfway through leveling Summoner when those changes hit, and even at that point, I was like, man, this is straightforward. So I would imagine if you're still playing Summoner after everything that happened, I would imagine, yeah, you are totally down just watching the fire burn.
Yeah, the Summoner's a kind of interesting because the pet-based class or job often attracts people who want to set and forget and press that one button while activating their pet. But very similar to the previous discussion, that could they have made a new one? Could you have your summoner and someone else gets whatever that new summoner easy mode is?
Yeah. You're eating great as a ninja man. Happy for you.
I mean, that looks fun. That does look like you got some fun stuff in there too.
Yeah.
Man, but fundamental gameplay changes, these are not outside of balance, and I feel like that's how they like to do things. But I was happy to kind of hear Happy get into how little these might be indicative of 8.0, because we honestly don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't think I will ever be on the this is for 8.0 or this is for the next expansion train. I just there's no conversation to be had.
Usually your balance designer is not your job designer either. And they work in tandem, but the people doing the fundamental big reworks aren't doing the day-to-day numbers changes. I don't know here because the numbers changes don't flow as frequently as they might over at a Blizzard's property.
That's fair. Is Split Fiction going to be a new stream link? Yes, and probably a little late because I'm not going to have time to properly sort lunch. This went a little longer than we anticipated.
Of course it did. Classic GG experience. But on that note,
I'm gonna need a few minutes, Kyle.
Cool. All right, let's get out of here then.
Yeah, we'll be back as close to 1 as we possibly can be.
I'll probably set it for 1:30 just to be a little safer.
Okay. And I don't want to opt you into anything, but I can go a little past 5, to make up for it.
Sounds good.
So just letting you know what I'm able to do. So
sounds good.
Yeah, we'll see you in a little bit for Split Fiction, and then if you're not coming back for that, we will see you tomorrow for Arcadian.
All right, buddy. Enjoy the trailer on the autoplay. That'll go when we say bye on YouTube. Hi, Twitch.
Bye-bye.
Sorry you don't get that. Sorry.